Chapter 108. Back in the men's locker room, Lu Qing entered the bathroom. Showered with hot water, Lu Qing couldn't help but hum a little tune to wash away his physical and mental fatigue. He changed his clothes and dried his hair with a towel. When he came out, only Kai Zhongming was there. "Not bad. You look happy." Little Ming, who was a little impatient from waiting, teased him. "Haha." Lu Qing answered with a laugh. Kai Zhongming sighed. People have to experience a pure, burning, heartfelt feeling once in their life. Only when they don't consider other feelings can they be considered complete. You should cherish it. If you fall in love again in the future, you won't be so attentive and unreserved. Lu Qing frowned. "Why do you say I'll fall in love again? Wouldn't it be better to maintain such pure feelings until the very end? Don't you want to get a girlfriend for marriage?" Kai Zhongming laughed and said, "How can feelings be so simple? It's only the beginning when you get her. There will be friction and twists and turns. This is an era full of temptation. It's hard to stay with your first love until the end. I'm just giving you a heads up. Two people will not only get along well. I believe that as long as both parties can communicate well, are willing to work hard and know how to tolerate each other, it's still possible." Lu Qing answered seriously. Kai Zhongming's mouth twitched. He patted him on the shoulder. "I feel that we have a communication barrier." After filling his stomach in the cafeteria, Lu Qing embarked on the journey to check out the location. After throwing himself in the window seat of the school bus, he took out his phone and logged into QQ as if there was no one else around. "Have you set off?" Covering mouth expression, Yanjika laughed. "Just got on the bus." Lu Qing's expression softened instantly. Yanjika didn't mention it again. She sent a fist-clenched and crying expression. "I feel very tired today, much more tired than before. My waist and back are aching." Lu Qing hurriedly rubbed her head and said, "Maybe it's because you woke up early to train." "Yeah, I didn't just train." Yanjika replied with a, "Who am I, where am I, what am I doing" emoji. Lu Qing smiled and asked with concern, "Why don't you wake up early and stop your training? With your physiques, 4 hours of special training is more than enough. Any more and it will cause fatigue and injury. I'm not saying that your physiques are bad, but I'm saying that you don't have an abnormal endurance like mine. If you really can't take it, just stand still for half an hour in the morning and rest up. It's good enough." Yanjika sent an emoji of rubbing her chin with her right hand and said, "That makes sense. Hehe, I can be more intimate with the bed. I'll wake up at 7 o'clock tomorrow and stand still for half an hour on the balcony of the dormitory. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I won't be able to listen to the afternoon and evening classes. Coach Yen is really good at following good advice." Lu Qing complimented her again and said, "I found that my appetite has grown again. I ate 50 cents worth of rice today, but I feel like I didn't eat it all. Although I have to save my stomach for punctuality, I reckon that I won't be able to fill my stomach if I don't eat it all in the future. And that's not including the dishes." Squatting in the corner and drawing circles expression, Yanjika replied, "Me too. I used to be a girl with a delicate appetite. But now I'm too embarrassed to order from the same window. This window gives me 30 cents. Another window gives me 30 cents, and finally another window gives me 20 cents. That's a total of 80 cents worth of rice. I feel like a rice bucket. Then what am I? 2 rice buckets? A rice pot?" Lu Qing replied with a smile, ignoring the glances of the people beside him who were curling their lips and sizing them up. Once he started chatting, time flew. He arrived at the old campus of Songqing University before he even looked up at the scenery. He found the first target through online taxi hailing, Ding Shang Spicy Crab. It was already past 1 o'clock and the peak of the afternoon market had ended. Lu Qing didn't have to wait long before he got to his seat. Seeing that he was alone, the waitress was slightly surprised and blurted out, "Sir, how many of you are there? Do you need to wait until everyone is here?" "Just one." Lu Qing smiled awkwardly but didn't back down. This was a sacred task. The waitress couldn't help but take another look at Lu Qing, as if she was looking at a single dog exuding a scent of loneliness. She didn't ask further and smiled politely, "What kind of crab do you want? We have several grades. The cheapest is 99 cents per caddy and the most expensive is 499 cents. Lu Qing was quite frugal with himself. He looked at the label on the outside of the water tank and said, 199 cents. "Give me 2. According to Qin Mo's introduction, this was a semi-hot pot type. First, one could fry the crab with spicy rice cakes, lotus root slices and other spicy things. After eating the meat inside, one could add soup to boil it and cook some shrimp dumplings, beef, handmade noodles and other things. Crabs alone couldn't fill one's stomach. After ordering, he was led to his seat by the waitress. Along the way, he looked around and observed the environment. According to Little Ming, if it was the first time you asked a girl out for a meal, you shouldn't choose an environment that was too noisy, too crowded, or too noisy. Otherwise, the taste of the food wouldn't be able to offset the bad impression, unless it was really too delicious. A table for two, a table for four, and a table for two on both sides of the large table with a space in the middle. The environment is okay. Lu Qing nodded with satisfaction and waited for the spicy crab to be served. He was quite satisfied with this meal. The stir-fried crab was very fragrant, and the spicy taste was slightly sweet. It was very appetizing and it was very suitable for his taste. After that, the handmade noodles cooked by the hot pot were smooth and tender. It could also be considered a delicacy. She should like it. Comparing their tastes, Lu Qing thought happily. After paying the bill, he hurriedly left the place and searched for the surrounding shops. Because he still had to try out 2 more shops, time was tight, so he did not leisurely stroll around. Instead, he started running, ignoring the gazes of the passers-by, constantly looking left and right. Normally, running like this would inevitably bump into pedestrians or electric poles. However, it was as if he had a lot of eyes. He could always slip and avoid in time, running through the flowers without taking any fragrance away. Does this count as a different kind of martial arts training? He thought with slight satisfaction. Behind the shopping mall 300 meters away, Lu Qing found a quiet and romantic cafe. He sat down and carefully tasted the drinks and snacks here. Yenjika once said that she didn't like coffee, but she seemed to really like milk tea. There were several varieties here. Lu Qing looked at the cups of drinks in front of him and suddenly felt a great pressure on his bladder. He was quite satisfied with the environment here. It was not like the Starbucks at the entrance of the shopping mall. Not only was there a lot of people, but the seating arrangement was also not hidden. It gave people the feeling that they had entered McDonald's or KFC. It was not at all suitable for a date, nor was it cool. After running 100 meters to the left of the cafe, Lu Qing found a cake shop. He walked back and forth, identifying different kinds of bread. He picked a few varieties that Yenjika usually mentioned and bought them. Then he sat down and started to eat directly. The quality is not bad. He touched his belly and thought with satisfaction. Lu Qing took the elevator to the 5th floor of the mall. He looked at the posters of the upcoming movies and asked the staff about them. He had a preliminary impression of each movie and whether the tickets were easy to buy or not. If she wants to watch a movie, I can introduce it to her directly and leave an impression that I have my own opinion and know what it is. He imagined the scene of the date freely. Finally, Lu Qing also studied the nearby bus routes in case he couldn't get a taxi or a car online. He couldn't let the girl stand there and wait, right? He was busy the whole afternoon running here and there. His stomach was full, but his spirit was very excited. In the end, according to the taste preference, the distance to other shops and the surrounding traffic situation, he chose Ding Shang spicy crab. He planned to leave the other 2 places for future dates. The next morning, the first class of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club of this semester officially began. There were fewer people than before, but they were more serious. Lu Qing, who was practicing Ice Mirror and Thunder Roar Zen, acted as Geyser Shi's assistant temporarily like other members of the special training group. Besides training himself, he also had to give some advice to the students around him. When Geyser Shi took the other half to the strength training gym, a group of people came in the door. There were artists with cameras, female reporters with microphones, and school staff accompanying them. Hey Qing, did you see her? That reporter from last year. Shu Rui. Kai Zhongming's eyes lit up. He stopped practicing and patted Lu Qing on the shoulder. Lu Qing followed the voice and saw the source of his family's dark history. The girl with the nameplate Shu Rui on her chest looked much more mature than she did in the video. Her delicate face had lost its scholarly look, and her eyes were bright and full of spirit. This time, due to the weather, she wore a black down jacket, which made her skin look even fairer. Her knee-high boots outlined her long, straight legs. Interview? There's a reporter for an interview. The rest of the members of the martial arts club started to talk. Shu Rui glanced at the members of the martial arts club and suddenly brightened up. She quickly approached them and found Lu Qing and Kai Zhongming. She smiled and said, "Do you remember me?" "I remember." Compared to the last interview, Lu Qing wasn't as nervous and uneasy. Kai Zhongming nodded and said with a smile, "Yes, that was the first time I was on TV." Shu Rui also smiled and said, "I watched the video again before I left this morning. I still remember you too, so I recognized you at a glance. Would you like to be interviewed again today?" Okay. Lu Qing said concisely. To be honest, he was not that interested in the local TV station's interview, but he had to take the teacher's face next to him into consideration. No problem. Kai Zongming was always crazy in front of people. Xu Rui nodded and said, then I'll interview you one by one. Shall we start with you? She looked at Lu Qing. Go ahead. Lu Qing answered politely. Xu Rui suddenly burst into laughter. This classmate, I think you've changed a lot. The last time we were interviewed you were very nervous and stiff. Today, how do I put it, you're much calmer and more composed in your written language. Because I have experience. Lu Qing explained casually. Xu Rui nodded slightly and said, then I'll officially interview you. According to the information given to me by your publicity department, the martial arts club is going to participate in this preliminaries. Do you know this? Hearing this, the surrounding members of the martial arts club were excited. They had just heard about this. Preliminaries? The martial arts club is going to organize a team to participate in the preliminaries? Yes. Lu Qing finally understood why the reporter came. Xu Rui smiled encouragingly and said, then what do you think about this? What do you expect? Well, I think it's a good thing. We don't have any official competition this semester. In order to make up for the shortcomings of actual combat training, participating in the preliminaries is the best way. That way we can fight with real masters, which will improve our strength a lot. Lu Qing answered honestly. Xu Rui frowned and felt that this answer was a little weird, but she couldn't tell why. She had to make fun of him and said, student, don't you think you're too formal? Just like the official spokesperson of the martial arts club. I'm a fan of martial arts. Maybe I've read too much news and reports about it. Lu Qing explained humorously. Xu Rui chuckled and said, well, next question. On the way here, I looked at the list given to me by your publicity department and found a strange name called Lu Qing. He didn't participate in the division of the National University Martial Arts competitions last year, but this year he became the main force in the preliminaries. What's the story behind this? Do you know what kind of person Lu Qing is? Does he value privacy and didn't join the martial arts club last semester? How strong is his strength? Is he of professional ninth pin? Lu Qing was stunned and said with a wry smile, these questions I can't answer. Beside him, Kai Zongming was trying hard to hold back his laughter. Xu Rui frowned and then smiled and said, well, can you point to Lu Qing for me? I'll interview him directly later. But Kai Zongming couldn't help laughing. Lu Qing pointed to himself and said helplessly, I'm Lu Qing. Chapter 109. You are Lu Qing? Xu Rui opened her mouth slightly. She believed that if she was drinking water she would have spat it out. How could a silly boy who was just a passerby in last year's interview suddenly become the main force of Songqing University Martial Arts Club in the preliminaries? He should be at least of amateur 1 or 2 pin. Could it be that she was wrong? But she had been in the ring for a year and mainly participated in martial arts competitions. She had seen more than 50 local masters, if not 100. How could the silly Lu Qing be like that? The surrounding martial arts club members were also talking about it. They didn't expect that a classmate who was easy to get along with and diligent in teaching was actually one of the main forces of the martial arts club. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Lu Qing saw that the reporter didn't believe him and laughed. Do you want me to show you my student ID? Xu Rui came back to herself from the shock and suddenly felt that this was a very valuable material. She immediately became excited. No, you can't lie about this kind of thing. Wouldn't it be clear if he asked Coach Shi later? Lu Qing, I feel that you have a lot of stories. Can I do an exclusive interview with you? Lu Qing didn't want to expose himself in front of the camera, so he found an excuse. But it's training time now, it's okay. Lu Qing, just accept the interview. It's worth the publicity that our martial arts club has a master. The teacher next to them persuaded. Xu Rui pointed at the strength training gymnasium. How about this? I'll help you apply to Coach Shi. If he doesn't agree, we'll find another opportunity later. Okay. Lu Qing decided to tell his teacher first and ask him to turn down the interview. A group of people immediately moved to the strength training gymnasium, leaving Kai Zongming standing there in a daze and complaining to himself. What about the interview one by one? After entering the strength training gymnasium, Lu Qing quickened his pace and approached Wuxia Shi first. He lowered his voice and said, Master, there are reporters who want to interview me. Can you help me block them? Wuxia Shi snorted. Isn't it good to be interviewed? As long as you can keep improving, there will be a lot of similar things in the future. You need to learn to deal with the media. Anyway, your experience of starting from scratch will be discovered in the future. Why don't you take the initiative to tell them? Lu Qing listened thoughtfully and nodded slightly. All right then. When he walked to the corner of the strength training gymnasium with Xu Rui and the cameraman, he glanced at Yanjika subconsciously. He saw the girl looking at him with a smile. Her eyes sparkled like water and she made a gesture of encouragement. His heart warmed and his resistance to the interview faded a little. Lu Qing, relax a little. Let's just treat this as a casual chat between friends. Xu Rui was no longer a newcomer in the workplace who had just left school. Her interview skills were already very proficient, and there was not the slightest bit of awkwardness. Lu Qing wasn't nervous. After all, it was just an exclusive interview with a local TV station. Even if he didn't perform well, not many people would see it. He smiled calmly and said, I'm very relaxed. Reporter Xu, you can begin. This was a temporary interview, so Xu Rui couldn't prepare an outline in advance. She could only use her brain and act on the spot. You're a freshman, right? Yes, I just joined the martial arts club when I was interviewed last year. Lu Qing added. Xu Rui nodded. Taking advantage of this pause, she thought quickly and thought of the next question. Before you joined the martial arts club, which amateur pin were you? You must have improved very fast recently, right? Before I joined the martial arts club, I was just a pure amateur. I didn't know anything about still stance, training methods, or fighting methods. As for strength, I might not even be able to beat a goose. Lu Qing had recently learned a term on the internet called the strength of a goose, which was said to be used to ridicule the strength unit in some novels. Xu Rui didn't get his humor. The reporter girl and cameraman were both stunned and stupefied. She blurted out, You were a newcomer half a year ago? Not even an amateur ninth pin? Yes, I started practicing martial arts in the last half a year. Lu Qing answered honestly. Xu Rui was a seasoned reporter, so she recovered faster than the cameraman. She gasped and said, That is to say, it only took you half a year to grow from a newcomer to the main force of the martial arts club? Well, what's your strength now? I haven't done the ranking event yet. I guess I'm a quasi-professional. I plan to participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin at the end of April. Lu Qing said modestly. From a newcomer to professional ninth pin in half a year. Xu Rui was excited as if she had gotten a big news. Her eyebrows and eyes were full of excitement. Are you the reincarnation of the living Buddha? No. Lu Qing shook his head. Then you're gifted? Xu Rui's tone became light. Lu Qing thought for a while and nodded. After I started practicing martial arts, I found that I had a talent for stillness. It only took me a short time to be able to enter a meditative state. My physical strength is also several times better than normal people. In terms of details, he made some slight adjustments. You're able to enter the concealment of spirit and chi very soon? Then it's easy for you to get started with stillness stance. Once you get started with stillness stance, you'll get twice the result with half the effort. Xu Rui specialized in martial arts interviews and understood the meaning of stillness stance very well. Yeah. He added sincerely, and coincidentally, the school invited Coach Sher to be our instructor. He's a man with a lot of knowledge. He taught us a lot of still stance and visualization of fighting styles. With the accumulation of this knowledge, I was able to improve day by day. Before the district competition, I probably had the strength of amateur ninth pin. But the gap between me and the others was still quite big. I couldn't even be a substitute. Xu Rui smiled and said, No wonder you weren't on the list last time. What happened after that? How did you become the main force of the martial arts club? I practiced until the winter vacation. Because the sparring of the martial arts club stopped after the district competition, I couldn't figure out my level. I wanted to find a chance to increase my actual combat experience. Then I heard from Coach Sher that there was a Warrior Sage Challenge tournament called Phoenix Cup. So I asked him for an invitation and went to Yanling to participate. Lu Qing didn't hide the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament from her. Xu Rui put her right hand in front of her lower abdomen and asked with great interest, Did you set a goal for yourself when you joined? Yes. I didn't want to be eliminated in the first round. That would be so embarrassing. Lu Qing said self-deprecatingly. Xu Rui chuckled and said, Then what happened? Which stage did you reach in the end? I reached the top 8. I felt that I gained a lot and improved a lot in every match. After this tournament, I became a real fighter both physically and mentally. Lu Qing said with emotion. Top 8? Then did you meet any professional fighters? Xu Rui was quite surprised. It didn't sound like an amateur tournament. Lu Qing said frankly, I met 3 professional ninth pin fighters. I lost one and won the other two. Wow, that's amazing. Then you're not just a quasi-professional fighter. Shu Rui was shocked and amazed. You can't say that. I won the two matches for different reasons. For example, one of them was a professional ninth pin fighter who hadn't fought for a long time. Lu Qing explained briefly. This kind of question and answer session with no outline soon came to an end. It only took about 10 minutes, but Lu Qing's story was basically outlined. Well, Lu Qing, you can go back to practice. Sorry for holding you up. Shu Rui said with a smile. It's my pleasure. Lu Qing said politely. Shu Rui chuckled and said, anyway, I still have to thank you. I'm going to interview your coach, sure. Lu Qing was relieved and went back to the team. When he passed by Yan Zhika, he heard her whisper, that reporter Shu is so beautiful. Just in terms of facial features, she was indeed very beautiful. Lu Qing was about to answer, but suddenly he thought of something and said instinctively, is she beautiful? I think she's quite ordinary. Yan Zhika glanced at him and said, your answer is too fake. No, I really think so. Maybe it's because she doesn't meet my aesthetic standards. Lu Qing answered seriously. Yan Zhika laughed and said, oh, your aesthetic standards are quite special. Then tell me what the one who meets your aesthetic standards looks like. Lu Qing glanced at her and said with a smile, guess. Yan Zhika was stunned and suddenly spat. She turned her head and said, who wants to guess? Under the gaze of so many people, Lu Qing couldn't say anything. He went back to the team and continued his practice. Songqing TV station. Shu Rui found her director and briefly told him Lu Qing's story. Director Gui said, don't broadcast the interview. Let's not broadcast this interview for the time being. Let's wait until Songqing University Martial Arts Club can really go far in the preliminaries before we release it. Otherwise it will be like last time, when we specially made an episode and they were eliminated in the blink of an eye. How terrible would that be? This time, just mention that Songqing University Martial Arts Club will participate in the preliminaries in the news. Okay, I'll fill in the material first. Shu Rui had expected this result. When she returned to the second editing room, she answered her boyfriend's call and chatted with him for a while. Then she told her colleagues about the gossip and all kinds of weird things she had encountered during the interview. After that, she turned on her computer and logged in to search for relevant materials for the interview. The first thing that came to her mind was the Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. After all, Lu Qing's description of the tournament was very brief. After entering these words in the search bar, she added Lu Qing's name after thinking for a while. With a click sound, the search results were refreshed. She browsed the whole thing and didn't hurry to open them one by one. These are the official website of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, and these are... Hey, Lu Qing has a private forum? Shu Rui exclaimed in a low voice and opened the forum to confirm the authenticity. She saw the two IDs, Eternal Nightfall and Brahmin, rolling around and acting cute, saying that they would die if they didn't see Lu Qing's news. Shu Rui couldn't help but smile. She seemed to recall the days when she was a fangirl. She found the interview material and edited a rough trailer. Then she logged into the ID Lush Gives Birth to Light, that she hadn't used for a long time and posted Songqing TV station's preview of Lu Qing's interview. In the main building she uploaded the edited video and typed a line of words, don't ask me who I am. I'm just a good person. Chapter 110. As an art student, Yan Xiaoling didn't need to attend the tutoring for the senior year of high school. When her classmates started to leave early and come back late, she was still lying in bed, happily playing with her mobile phone. Beside her ears was music from her laptop. It was an old song, White Moonlight. After playing for a while, she returned to the BBS with a strong sense of responsibility. She planned to patrol the BBS to avoid being polluted by people with small advertisements. Songqing TV station's exclusive interview with Lu Qing. The preview? As soon as she switched to the BBS, she was stunned. Her eyes were wide open like a surprised cat. Her hands moved faster than her brain. Before she recovered her ability to think, she had already clicked in and played the video. Do you know what kind of person Lu Qing is? What is his strength? Is he of professional ninth pin? I can't answer these questions. As she watched, Yan Xiaoling's expression unconsciously changed into a smile. She let out a joyful voice alone. It's really Lu Qing? It's really Lu Qing. Haha, so funny. Asking who is Lu Qing in front of Lu Qing? He didn't know martial arts half a year ago? Unconsciously, the short preview finished playing. Yan Xiaoling was rolling with joy and reverberating with surprise. She couldn't control herself and quickly replied to the post of lush natural light. Good people live a peaceful life. It's really our Lu Cheng. Ah, hey, he's really a very warm boy. After replying to 3 messages in a row, she found Brahmin on QQ and hurriedly said, "Quick, go to the BBS post, the first one. The first one outside of the top." After sending the message, she suddenly felt that it wasn't enough to express her excitement and joy. She simply changed the mode to voice and aimed it at her mouth. "Ha, I'm so happy. I finally saw the news of Lu Cheng. He's really very warm, very warm, very warm. Important things must be said 3 times." Before he entered the challenge tournament, he was actually a super rookie with no actual combat experience. He only learned martial arts for half a year. So awesome. I'm so happy. I'm covering my face and rolling around. Don't ask me how I did it. After a while, Brahmin wiped her cold sweat and said, "I didn't expect you to be so love-struck. I always thought you were the soft and cute type." Speaking up to this point, she also sent a voice message. Using the crisp voice of a young girl, she said, "Little Nightfall, you're lying. Your voice is clearly that of a primary school student, yet you lied to me and said that you're a 3rd-year high school big sister." Yan Shaoling was in a good mood, so she didn't care about it. She coughed and said in a broadcasting voice, "You have to allow others to be born with a childlike voice. Just wait for me to enter Songqing University in the second half of the year." "Humph, I'll wait. I'll go read the post first." Brahmin couldn't wait to open the forum and click on the post. As the video played, her expression gradually changed. She excitedly tugged at the 2 braids on her shoulders and quickly replied to, "Lush self-generating light : it's so short. It's not satisfying." So when my idol participated in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, he had just started learning martial arts for half a year and had no actual combat experience, but he was already in the top 8. No wonder he's so mysterious. I suddenly admire him more. There was no conflict between the mysterious, hidden master and the genius who had just started learning martial arts for half a year and entered the top 8 of the challenge tournament. Brahmin was as excited as Yan Shaoling. She was so excited that she just wanted to vent her emotions. I'll send it to Uncle Pig Riding, Uncle Ring and the others so that they can get to know my idol. Look at them bragging that they lost because they didn't have actual combat experience for many years, but he had just started practicing martial arts for less than half a year." Thinking of this, Brahmin hesitated for a moment. Should she send it to the chat group or directly to the Longhu Club forum? If she chose the former, she would take into account the reputation of Road to the Arena and Invincible Punch, but the number of people who could see it would be quite limited. It wouldn't be enough to satisfy her excitement. After thinking for a second, Brahmin made a serious decision. She would send it to the Longhu Club forum. Adults should consider the consequences, while children only care about happiness. Soon a post appeared on the Longhu Club forum. The title was, "There's new news about my idol." In the post, Brahmin tagged a bunch of people and said proudly, "Look, it's an exclusive interview with my idol." It said that he has only been practicing martial arts for half a year. Not long after, Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a shocked emoji, "He has only been practicing martial arts for half a year. No wonder it's not in my database and I couldn't ask anyone. He has only been practicing martial arts for half a year." Road to the Arena followed up with a reply, "I'll stop talking. I'm going to buy a piece of tofu and knock myself to death at home." Invincible Punch sent an emoji of fainting in the toilet, and said, "Master Road, I'm not going to buy tofu. I'll just knock myself to death on the toilet." Pig Riding Knight laughed with Yao Ming and said, "Come on, line up and knock yourself to death." The number of replies increased rapidly. Brahmin was so happy that she even copied and pasted it to Yan Shaoling so that she could share the joy. Not long after, Beautiful World also replied, "Looking at the interview, it seems that he has some talent. Once this kind of person starts practicing martial arts, he will definitely improve quickly at the beginning. It's a burst of potential. But when this stage is over, there will be a bottleneck. It's still unknown whether he can get out of it." Outspoken Mind added, "He has been reincarnated as a living Buddha for a few years. Who can compare with him?" Okamoto's fan joked, "I'm going to practice martial arts. Maybe I have some talent? Whoever I stare at will get pregnant. Whoever I look at will get climax." The little girl Wonton Seller said, "I suddenly admire him a little. Just with talent, it's impossible to defeat a professional 9th pin fighter in half a year without extremely tough training. I like this kind of talented and hardworking kid." When Lu Cheng was browsing the forum, he saw this scene. For a moment he didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Or just watch silently. Wasn't this news spreading too quickly? Of course, Shu Rui didn't know what was happening in the Longhu Club forum. After seeing the excited replies from Eternal Nightfall and Brahmin in their own posts, she couldn't help but smile and click follow. Brahmin was trying her best to attract fans for Lu Cheng. She persuaded Wonton Seller to follow her and succeeded. Valentine's Day came quickly. According to Kai Zongming's advice, Lu Cheng became more and more friendly. He would say flirtatious words from time to time, trying to convey his feelings without causing pressure or burden to the girl. After dinner, when he returned to the dormitory for a short rest, he took out his phone and replied to Yenjika's messages as before, trying to start a new topic. But this time Yenjika didn't reply quickly. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes passed. Lu Cheng suddenly felt a little worried. This kind of situation had never happened before. Usually when Yenjika didn't reply to his messages, he knew what she was doing and why. But this time there was no sign. She didn't mention anything in advance. She said that she had already eaten dinner. Did something happen to her? But what kind of accident can happen in school? Even if there is a reckless guy with her current skills, it's more than enough to deal with him. Did she accidentally fall into the lake? She can't swim. Lu Cheng stood by the window, thoughts coming one after another. All kinds of bad guesses were bothering his mind. He couldn't stay there any longer, so he called Kai Zongming. "Talker, let's go." Kai Zongming looked up from the computer with a blank face. "Isn't it still early? Let's go early. It'll help with digestion." Lu Cheng said perfunctorily. "Well, okay." Kai Zongming frowned slightly and closed his laptop. They hurried to the teaching building ahead of time. Along the way, Lu Cheng kept looking around to see if anything was going on. However, he only saw a lot of students in pairs, which made him envious. Yenjika went back with her roommates. If something really happened, it shouldn't be so peaceful. At this moment, he couldn't help but guess in another direction. Today is Valentine's Day. Did someone confess to her? How did she respond? She hasn't replied for so long. Could it be? That possibility Lu Cheng didn't dare to think about. His expression became gloomy and his heart was blocked, as if he was sulking. He wanted to call her, but he knew it wasn't good. Besides, he didn't know how to say it. Half an hour, 1 hour, time flew, but Yenjika still didn't reply. Lu Cheng sat in the classroom and couldn't listen to the lecture at all. His mind was in a mess and he took out his phone to check every few minutes. Kai Zongming next to him twitched his mouth, coughed twice and whispered, "Did you have a conflict?" "Not really." Lu Cheng didn't know how to describe his thoughts. Kai Zongming smiled and said, "Relax. It's normal to have some conflicts. You need to learn communication skills." He talked endlessly about how to get along with girls, but Lu Cheng was distracted. It was good enough that he could hear 2 or 3 sentences out of 10. Beep. 10 minutes to the end of the class, a message from Yenjika finally flashed on his phone. She said, "Phew, finally back to the dormitory." Lu Cheng felt gloomy and a little uncomfortable. He just replied, "Yeah." But he immediately remembered what Kai Zongming said just now. The same content, different expressions in the eyes of girls, are completely different. If there is a conflict, it's useless to be angry. You have to try to communicate. And if you want to communicate well, you have to set your attitude right. Taking a deep breath, he hurriedly added, "What's wrong? You seem tired." "Yes, I'm tired physically and mentally." Yenjika said, "After dinner, I was stopped at the dormitory door to confess to someone. A bunch of candles and flowers were placed in public. It's so embarrassing. I don't know what this kind of person is thinking. He only thinks about touching himself and doesn't consider the feelings of girls? Who likes to be surrounded by people like an animal? It's so embarrassing." Lu Cheng was happy to hear that. His gloominess dissipated a lot. "So you rejected him?" "Of course, mercilessly, coldly and cruelly rejected him." Yenjika gave an affirmative answer. "I ran away as soon as I finished my words. I was afraid of being harassed by him. I didn't dare to go back to the dormitory, so I went to the classroom. Because my phone was running out of battery, I asked my roommate to bring me a charger. At this time another call came in. He said something about my cousin and asked me to go to the psychology department. Well, my phone is completely out of battery." "So it's out of battery?" Lu Cheng felt his body and mind relaxed. Only some emotions were not completely released. He asked in confusion, "Psychology department? My cousin is studying psychology department. I thought it would be good for his mild autism, but it turned out to be the opposite. Psychological counseling seems to have no effect on him. The teacher asked me to go there to talk about this." When I came back, I had just charged my phone and then started the professional foreign language test in the evening. Yenjika said, using an emoji of squatting and exhaling. Lu Qing suddenly understood. You handed in your test in advance? Yes, I'm exhausted. Yenjika paused and said sharply, Qing, you seem to be in a bad mood just now. Lu Qing wanted to deny it, but after thinking about it, he confessed part of it. You didn't reply for a long time, so I couldn't help but let my imagination run wild. I thought you might have fallen into the lake or met some bad guys. I became very nervous and uneasy and even wanted to call you. You really know how to curse me? Yenjika laughed. Why do you let your imagination run wild? Seeing this question, Lu Qing's uncontrollable emotions started to surge. He couldn't help but blurt out, because I like Yenjika very much. As soon as he sent this message, he immediately regretted it. Damn it, didn't they say that I can't confess before the relationship is confirmed? Didn't they say that I have to confess face to face and not over the phone or the internet? The right way to do it should be on a date the day after tomorrow. Damn it, I made a lot of mistakes. Nervousness, uneasiness, worry, expectation and other emotions suddenly emerged. Lu Qing heard his heart beating faster than ever. Yenjika fell into silence and didn't reply for a long time. This made him more and more afraid, more and more uneasy, and more desperate. You don't want to say anything? He plucked up his courage and asked again, waiting for the judgment to come. More than 10 seconds later, Yenjika replied with a shy emoji. Let me be happy for 5 minutes first. Boom. The meaning contained in this sentence hit Lu Qing's mind and made his heart explode like fireworks, one after another, brilliant, dazzling and beautiful. Yenjika said yes. The most beautiful thing in the world is that the person I like also likes me. Lu Qing almost jumped up. There was only ecstasy echoing in his mind, and only the fireworks were in full bloom. He couldn't help but look out of the window, feeling that the bright moon was much brighter. Chapter 111. Lu Qing held back the urge to scream and run around the classroom. He lowered his head and showed his pure joy to Yenjika. I feel like I can't calm down. I'm so happy that I want to jump down from the teaching building and swim in the lake. Yenjika smiled shyly. You'll scare your teacher to death. So angry. If we weren't in class, I would have shouted. Lu Qing was almost incoherent. His body was full of joy. He couldn't help but ask, when did you start to, like me? Yenjika replied with a dumbfounded expression. When did I say I like you? When did I accept your confession? I only said to be happy for 5 minutes. Lu Qing instantly calmed down as if he had fallen into an ice cave. His heart was full of anxiety and uneasiness. At this moment he saw Yenjika continue saying, if you want me to accept, you have to go through 81 tests, not including the life instructors. Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief and was overjoyed again. He felt like he had gone through a roller coaster game. It turned out to be a girl's pride and thin skin. No problem, I'll accept all the tests. He quickly expressed his determination. You have to remember this. After saying this, Yenjika said with a shy expression, Then when did you start to like me? Lu Qing, who was overwhelmed by joy and excitement, answered honestly, In fact, I had a crush on you in high school. I'll go to the balcony and be happy for 5 more minutes, Yenjika said with a blush expression. Then she seemed to realize something. Wow. You didn't meet me by chance. You just wanted to hit on me. And I was so happy that I met an acquaintance, a classmate with a normal relationship. I didn't have to worry about being pestered. If I had known, I wouldn't have given you my QQ number. Even though Yenjika couldn't see it, Lu Qing subconsciously scratched his head and replied with a silly smile, Ha! After that he added, You don't know how nervous I was at that time. I was afraid that you would see through my flirting and didn't give me a good face or contact number. Yenjika said with a snickering expression, If I didn't give you my number, what would you do? Are you giving up just like that? Considering my newbie status, it would be hard for me to muster up the courage for a second rejection. Of course, with little Ming's encouragement and guidance, I can't rule out the possibility of repeated failures. Lu Qing thought in relief and typed quickly, How could that be? I joined the martial arts club because of you, so of course I have to take advantage of this opportunity. So you joined the martial arts club because of me? Yenjika seemed a little surprised. That's right. When I passed by the martial arts club's recruitment booth, I happened to see you, so I forced little Ming to sign up. I think this is not a coincidence but fate. After the successful confession, Lu Qing felt that his face had become thicker and thicker. In the past he had dared to say a few ambiguous and suggestive words, but now he could say such mushy words without blushing or panting. Yenjika replied with a smiley face and asked, "Then why do you like me? What do you like about me?" "I don't know why I like you. At first, when I passed by your class to look at the pretty girls, I was just admiring them. Later on, I realized that I would unconsciously look at the beautiful figure diagonally in front of me. I would always quiet down and listen attentively when others mentioned you. I would always guess what rank you got when the grade was announced. That was when I suddenly realized that I like you." Lu Qing didn't embellish his words and spoke from the bottom of his heart. Without waiting for Yenjika's reply, he continued to type. "At that time, maybe I was just admiring a perfect girl and projected all the beautiful thoughts in my heart on you. I was moved by myself and hinted at myself. But after I really got to know you, I realized that you are a real girl with your own feelings and shortcomings. However, the more I know you, the more I find that I like you. I like you who always pursed your lips and smiled. I like you who unconsciously turned your head to one side when you showed your emotions. I like you who was elegant and delicate. I like you who was lively and cheerful inside. I like you who didn't put on airs and liked to joke. I like you who was obsessed with martial arts. I like you who grew up with me. I like you who analyzed my enemies for me. I like you who sang and cheered for me. I like you who didn't like to be pestered by boys. I like you who liked to laze in bed. I like you who would occasionally throw tantrums. I like you who wanted to improve your martial arts but didn't dare to. I like you so much. I like you so much." After typing this pile of words, Lu Qing looked back and was a little surprised. When did I unlock the love words skill? Is this what it means to say that every word and sentence comes from love? After a while, Yenjika replied, "It's all because of you. My face is so red and hot and my eyes are a little wet. My roommates are coming back soon. I'll go wash up and put on my face. I won't let them find out so they won't gossip." Okay, go quickly," Lu Qing said with uncontrollable joy. When he looked up, he was suddenly stunned because the whole classroom was empty, except for a few students studying by themselves and Kai Zongming standing in front of him. "Class is over?" Lu Qing asked blankly. Kai Zongming spread his hands and smiled. "Obviously. Why didn't I know?" Lu Qing said subconsciously again. "How could you know when you're so obsessed with love that you can't extricate yourself?" Kai Zongming raised his eyebrows. "Look at you, you're itching to go out and run a few laps naked. Did you have a breakthrough? I can't believe you were still wearing that face of a dead man just now. But then again, the right amount of friction and reconciliation can really improve feelings." Lu Qing couldn't wait to share his happiness. Yes, I confessed and she said yes. Cough, cough, cough. Kai Zongming almost choked on his own saliva. "You confessed just like that? You confessed on QQ?" She actually said yes. Lu Qing said with a face full of joy, "Yeah, I typed out my confession on impulse." "Typed? Didn't you calm down while you were typing?" Kai Zongming glanced at a few students studying by themselves and lowered his voice. "You know, when a person is emotional and impulsive, they really don't care about anything else. Also, my confession was only a dozen words. When I regained my composure, I would have already sent it out, not a bunch of words. At that time, my feelings were like this. Who am I? Where am I? What the F***ck did I do?" Lu Qing described the state he was in when he confessed. Kai Zongming was stunned for a moment and sighed. "It's quite normal, really. If you don't make a few mistakes and be impulsive, how can it be called first love? How can it be called pure and passionate? Good thing you're in luck and laid the foundation in place. Otherwise, you'd be waiting for 10 moves to reject you." Phew. Lu Qing exhaled a long breath. "I'm also quite scared. If she rejected me, I would have no chance at all." Kai Zongming smiled and said, "It's good that you know how to be scared. According to my guidance, within 3 months, you have more than a 90% chance of successfully holding hands and establishing a relationship. If you impulsively confessed, it's really up to fate. As for being rejected, hey, what's there to be afraid of? Sometimes a girl rejects you not because she doesn't like you, but because it's not enough for her to make up her mind to change her life. You still need to add fuel to the fire. Be thick-skinned and pretend that you didn't confess. Continue to stick to her and control the degree of entanglement. You'll still have a chance to win her heart. As the saying goes, a strong woman is afraid of a pestering man. Of course, if she becomes very cold after you confess and doesn't change for a while, then quit while you're ahead." Lu Qing smiled and squinted his eyes. Fortunately, she also likes me." After saying this, he jumped up from his seat and felt that he needed to vent the ecstasy in his heart. So he packed his school bag and pulled Kai Zongming. "Talker, let's run back." "Run?" As soon as Kai Zongming spat out a word, He was pulled by Lu Qing to run like the wind. They ran down the stairs of the teaching building, ran past several buildings, ran across the long bridge, ran across the square, ran across the pedestrian street, and ran all the way into the yard of the 7th male dormitory. Phew phew phew. Kai Zongming gasped and retched. You were the one who wanted to run. Why did you pull me? Why did you pull me? Damn it, it's not like I succeeded in confessing. It's fine to run, but why did you run so fast? Lu Qing chuckled. Am I not excited? He took out his phone and wanted to see if Yan Zhika had finished washing up. But he found that she had already replied to several messages. Well, Qing, you should be on your way back to the dormitory, right? There are some words that I'm too embarrassed to say to you directly. Now is the time to tell you secretly. Didn't you just ask me when I started to like you a little? On a whim, I wanted to wait until the early hours of the morning to call you and wish you a happy birthday. Then I suddenly realized that I like you a little. I'm happy for you, I'm worried for you, I'm anxious for you, and I'm also angry for you. When you brought me the roasted eggplant and other dishes, I was really happy and moved. I turned my head away because I didn't want you to see my ugly face when I was about to cry. But in order to treat me to a meal, you specially went to check the time and taste the food. That silly and serious look of yours made me happy for a long time. I kept thinking that if this continued, I would like you more and more. But today you suddenly confessed to me. I was really very happy just now. It was an experience that I've never had in my life. But there was also a lot of hesitation and confusion. I wasn't mentally prepared. I didn't like you more and more. I didn't have the courage to change my current life and accept the sudden addition of another person in my life. That's why I was silent for so long until you asked. When you asked me, I was also asking myself. Was I willing to miss you? Was I willing to miss the silly Lu Qing? I thought about it and felt that if I really missed you, I would be very sad and very regretful. Since I've started to like you, why not give it a try? Qing, I may need a little more time to accept the change. I may need to wait for a while before I can like you as much as you like me. I may need to slowly conquer my cowardice and gather my courage bit by bit to be a good girlfriend. Are you willing to wait for me? Lu Qing's eyes were wet. He nodded hard even if the girl couldn't see it. He took a deep breath and replied, I'm willing. I'm willing to wait for you for a lifetime. He felt that his heart had become very light. Although he wasn't as ecstatic and excited as before, there was a faint sense of peace and joy. It was as if the bright moonlight shone into the softest part of his heart. Different emotions equally beautiful. P.S. As requested, I'm feeding you dog food in advance. No, I'm updating in advance. Please recommend me. Chapter 112. At this moment, Lu Qing only felt that everything was so beautiful. The students walking in and out were so cute, the background noise was so pleasant, and even the cold and damp air seemed to have a little sweetness, refreshing and pleasant. It was not even the 15th day yet, but the moon was so bright and full. Yan Zhika quickly replied to his mushy promise and said with a cute face, What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? My account was hacked just now. Yes, it was hacked. Lu Qing almost laughed out loud. He seemed to have pictured the girl's proud and shy face in his mind, so he replied with a serious face, Damn it, how dare they hack our Coach Yan's account? I will write down what she said in a small notebook and recall it 100 times every day to make the most profound condemnation. He didn't know why, but after the confession he felt less restrained in front of girls and more comfortable in flirting. Yan Zhika seemed to be speechless for a moment. She sent a long string of ellipses and then said, Forget it. Delete it. Humph, you just confessed and you want to recall someone else every day? Okay, I'll forget it right away. After replying, Lu Qing added with a smile, But I won't forget what I promised. Yan Zhika said with a blank face. Have you been in love before? Why do you sound so good? I'm a little flustered. Cute girls nowadays like to use the word flustered, instead of flustered. Lu Qing thought and hurriedly explained, No, I like you since the first awakening of love. I don't know how to speak, I just express the most honest thoughts in my heart. I say what I think without any modification. You even know how to use the first awakening of love. Yan Zhika snickered. Unfortunately, I didn't dare to visit you in high school because I was afraid of being surrounded. I didn't have the chance to see the first awakening of love. At that time, I must be even more stupid than now. Lu Qing heard that and smiled. Indeed, I was more stupid and less confident at that time. Except for learning and playing games, I was timid in other aspects. I'm not generous enough. Fortunately, you don't remember it or it would be a black history. He calmly described his past and faced Yenjika with his truest self. I was the same at that time. I had low self-esteem. I thought everyone else was fine, but I didn't dare to go deep into martial arts. I could only watch with envy. Yenjika didn't dislike Lu Cheng's frustration in high school. Instead, she resonated with him. Lu Cheng didn't want Yenjika to be immersed in the sadness of the past, so he changed the topic and said emotionally, I was so happy just now. I wanted to shout, but I was afraid that I would scare others, so I had to drag little Ming all the way back. We ran at a speed close to sprinting. He was so tired that he was panting. He hasn't recovered yet, but I still wanted to shout, I'm so happy. Poor little Ming. Yenjika couldn't help but laugh. Don't provoke others. Be careful that some single students will throw things at you. Little Ming is not pitiful at all. In the future, I will give him a big red packet as a matchmaker. Nothing can be better than this. Lu Cheng laughed secretly. To be honest, just now I wanted to run to your dormitory door. Even if it was just to take a look at you, it would be nice. But when I saw your, hacked message, I felt that it might scare you and make you more resistant, so I held myself back. We still have a long time, so it's better to take it slow. After sending this message, he felt that his sweet talk skills were activated again. Was this an instinct that all men have, or was it his talent? Yenjika replied with a blushing and smiling emoji. That's a good Cheng. Being praised, Lu Cheng beamed with joy and asked curiously, have you known that I like you for a long time? Yes, a little bit. At that time, I was wondering what was wrong with this classmate. Why did he chat with me every day? Although we got along quite well, if he had the guts to confess to me or woo me, I would have cruelly rejected him. Yenjika replied with an emoji rolling her eyes at the sky. Luckily I know how to do it step by step. Lu Cheng said, wiping cold sweat. This is all thanks to little Ming's patient guidance. A good teacher and helpful friend does not deceive me. I'm too stupid to be fooled by your harmless act. Yenjika said, crying face. I'll lie to you for a lifetime. Lu Cheng was too embarrassed to say such mushy words. Suddenly he felt a pat on his shoulder. He saw Kai Zongming coming back to his senses. He pointed at the time on his phone and then turned to look at the dorm. Damn, it's already 10 o'clock. How did the beautiful time pass so quickly? Lu Cheng felt melancholy. Normally the evening class ended at 9:35. He had wasted a lot of time coming back. After chatting for a long time, it was actually quite normal for it to be around 10 o'clock. But he had to go to bed at 10:30. He really couldn't bear to leave. He thought for a while and told Yenjika how he felt. Unknowingly, it's already 10 o'clock. I have to go to bed. I have to wake up early tomorrow to train. I couldn't bear to leave and wanted to go to bed at 12. But I remembered what little Ming said before. Don't be afraid to woo her just because you're not good enough for her. You have to change yourself for her, improve yourself and work hard to be good enough for her. I want to be good enough for you, so I can't relax my training requirements. That was not the original words, but the meaning was close enough. Yenjika said, if you didn't say it, I would have urged you to go to bed. Go and wash up. Good night later. Okay. Lu Cheng replied happily. At this time, Yenjika replied to another message. Well, I like the silly Cheng and I also like the Cheng who focuses on martial arts training seriously. Ah, so annoying. That guy is so annoying. My account was hacked again. Don't reply. Lu Cheng's eyebrows relaxed and his heart warmed. He was so happy that he couldn't hide his smile. He also felt that Yenjika was so cute and he liked her very much. Well, I didn't see anything and I didn't reply. He sent a message seriously. Lu Cheng put his phone in his pocket and looked up. He saw Kai Zongming shaking his head and smirking. This little face reminds me of the first time I fell in love in elementary school. You can say whatever you want. I'm in a good mood today, so I don't care. Lu Cheng said happily. Kai Zongming laughed. Then I'll say something to discourage you. In a relationship, the one who confesses first and gives more will lose the initiative and lose the upper hand. Lu Cheng looked at him in confusion. Why do I have to take the initiative and gain the upper hand in my relationship with her? I like her more and I spoil her. Isn't that good enough? Kai Zongming looked at him blankly and his mouth twitched. I'm going to vomit for a while. It's so disgusting. Hee hee. Lu Cheng didn't take it seriously. He went back to the dormitory and quickly washed up. He wanted to climb into bed directly and skip the small talk with Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao. But he changed his mind and turned on his laptop. He used Cloud Sync to transfer the chat history to the computer version and saved several copies in different places. This is a good memory that I can recall for a lifetime. What will it be like when I'm old and white and my teeth are loose? How will I feel when I cuddle up with Yenjika? He turned off the computer, took off his clothes and climbed into bed. He said with a smirk, I'm lying down. I can't sleep until you say good night. It would gradually evolve into hugging and kissing later. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed. Okay, good night, good night. Go to sleep. I'm going to sleep too. I'm so tired today. Good night. Dream of me. Lu Qing plucked up the courage to say that. Bah. I don't want to. Yenjika replied shyly. The night gradually quieted down. Lu Qing fell asleep with a smile. He seemed to be as happy in his dream. The next morning he showed up at the lakeside on time. Looking at the misty dusk, he suddenly felt a little regretful. According to the novels he had read, the posts he had read, and the friends in college all had good memories of having breakfast delivered to them. But he had to get up early in the morning to practice, so he couldn't experience this feeling. He always felt that he couldn't do better. Suddenly he had a flash of inspiration. It's not that I don't have time. I can make use of the time. I can start practice 20 minutes earlier and finish 20 minutes earlier. And when I'm practicing endurance, I can run far away. I can buy Yenjika a breakfast that's not from the cafeteria on the way. When I figure out what kind of breakfast she likes in Songqing, I can implement it. Excited, he practiced harder and harder. Seeing this, Gizershur was stunned. He always felt that his stupid disciple had taken something like strength pill or stimulant. While punching and kicking, Lu Qing visualized the image of thunderclouds shaking, which moved his throat and chest and pulled his internal organs, making a sound similar to thunder. With the tremor force in the training method, he shook his bones and marrow little by little. Step by step, he tempered the hard-to-reach parts of his body. Unconsciously, the morning practice time was over. He hurriedly ate breakfast and couldn't wait to fly to the martial arts arena, because he could see Yenjika. As soon as he stepped into the door, his eyes were like a radar. He looked over and met Yenjika's eyes. Yenjika suddenly avoided his eyes and lowered her eyes. Her long black eyelashes trembled and her cheeks flushed. But she quickly looked up and glanced at Lu Qing. Then she turned her head to the side in a flirtatious manner. Lu Qing didn't know why he also blushed. He knew that girls were thin-skinned and hadn't fully adjusted, so he didn't recklessly greet her. Instead, he returned to his seat and peeped at her from time to time. And he could always catch Yenjika's eyes, which filled his heart with tacit understanding and sweetness. For the whole morning, the two of them looked at each other like this. Time flew by quickly, and they were about to enter the final part of their training. At this time, Gizershur coughed and said, the preliminary schedule has been drawn up. More than 20 teams from Songqing have signed up and formed a division with several surrounding cities. There are 4 groups of 8 to 9 teams in each group. They will fight in a single round and draw lots to decide the home and away games. The top 2 teams with the best records will advance and compete with the other teams in the other groups for 2 places in the division. We are in the 3rd group with 8 teams. That is to say, no matter whether we can advance or not, we can fight 7 games. Our first opponent is the local Hongluo Martial Arts School in Songqing on the afternoon of the 17th. We will be the away game. I will send the video materials to the members who will participate in the preliminaries. You can think about it in these 2 days. Hearing this, Lu Qing was refreshed. He was in high spirits and eager to have a try. Friends of Hongluo Martial Arts School, please feel my happiness and excitement. Chapter 113. After the practice, Lu Qing glanced at Yenjika's side and was about to approach her. Kai Zongming, who had been ravaged by the gorilla again, couldn't help but tease them. You've been practicing flirting all morning. Isn't that enough? Think about the feelings of a single dog. Think about me, a foreign dog. Haha. Lu Qing laughed and then found an excuse. I have to confirm the arrangement for tomorrow. Then, without waiting for Kai Zongming's response, he strode over to Yenjika. So punctual. Guqing teased, wiped the sweat on her forehead and went back to the female locker room. Lu Qing and Yenjika looked at each other and smiled. They both saw the shyness in each other's eyes, but the awkwardness was gone. Instead, there was an indescribable sweetness. She knows about us? Lu Qing casually found a topic. Yenjika crossed her hands in front of her and looked to the side. Her cheeks were red again. She spat and said, what can happen between us? You're the one who is too obvious. She always teases me with you, saying that Qing is probably chasing you. What are you thinking? Then what are you thinking? Lu Qing asked with a smile. Yenjika suddenly glanced at him, which made his heart beat fast. I'm not thinking about anything. At times like this I usually make fun of her in Qiuzhigao. Seeing that Lu Qing didn't act too close to her and just flirted with her more than usual, she seemed to relax a lot. She stopped crossing her hands, one hanging down and the other playing with the hair that had escaped from her ponytail. Have they made any progress? Lu Qing asked casually. Yanjika slightly frowned. No progress. Anyway, Guqing has been worried about this recently. You and Qiuzhigao are in the same dormitory. Do you know what he thinks? He's a study maniac. He goes out early and comes back late every day. We can only meet in some classes and chat for half an hour before I go to bed. Anyway, if we're not joking, he won't mention Guqing. Lu Qing sold Qiuzhigao out without hesitation. Now that he had won Yanjika's heart, he didn't care whether he could maintain a friendly relationship with Guqing. After that, he changed the topic. Are we going to have lunch or dinner tomorrow? He already had an answer to this question in his heart, but no matter what, he had to consider the girl's opinion first. If the girl was hesitant, then he would make a quick decision himself. This way he would respect the girl and also show that he had his own opinions and confidence. Yanjika looked up cutely and said, "Let's go at noon. If we are delayed by something at night, we might miss the last school bus." Okay. Lu Qing agreed without hesitation. In fact, he was thinking about dinner because the special training would end at noon, so it would be a rush to get there. After a whole morning of martial arts training he was fine, but Yanjika must be tired. She should take a shower, take a nap and have a rest first. But since the girl chose to eat at noon he had to agree. In the sentence date with Yanjika, the important thing was Yanjika, not date. He vaguely understood the reason for Yanjika's choice. It was mainly because he confessed too hastily and made her accept it too hastily. She hadn't adapted to the change of role and had an instinctive fear of not being able to take the school bus at night. He needed to make her lower her guard bit by bit with his good performance. Thinking of this, he smiled and said, "Today I'll take the opportunity to watch the videos and materials of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Tomorrow I have to hurry up and ask Coach Yen for guidance." Haha. Yanjika couldn't help but laugh. Her eyebrows relaxed and she said, "Not bad. You know I'm Coach Yen." On this topic the two chatted happily. There was a touch of sweetness in their eyes. At this time, Guqing finished her shower and came out of the women's locker room. She looked at the two in surprise and blurted out, "You're still chatting? How long have you been chatting?" She looked back and forth between Lu Qing and Yanjika with suspicion. Yanjika pretended to be normal and said, "Let's talk about Hongluo Martial Arts School later. I'm going to take a shower first." After that she didn't dare to look at Lu Qing or Guqing. She hurried into the women's locker room and her cheeks seemed to be flushed again. "Haha, I'm going to take a shower too." Lu Qing avoided Guqing's eyes and laughed dryly. He walked to the men's locker room. Guqing couldn't help but twitch her mouth and whisper, "Something's wrong." At noon the next day, Lu Qing rushed into the men's locker room as soon as the training ended. His speed was so fast that no one could catch up with him. He didn't talk to Yanjika today because they had agreed to meet at the school bus station at 12:50. After carefully washing his body, he didn't wait for Kai Zongming and rushed back to the dormitory. He opened the wardrobe and according to the guidance of Casanova last night, he chose the short leather jacket that made him look more spirited and changed into a pair of beige slacks. He wanted to look clean and fresh. After changing clothes, he suppressed his excitement and went to the washstand. He seriously shaved his beard and styled his hair. He couldn't wait to do every detail to the best of his ability. After busying himself, he looked at his phone and found that it was only 12:30. There were still 20 minutes before the meeting. It would take him at most 5 or 6 minutes to walk from the dormitory to the school bus station. Let's go and wait, Lu Qing thought. He was both excited and nervous at the same time. This was the first date in his life. When he passed by the supermarket on the pedestrian street, he suddenly had an idea. He turned around and walked straight in. From the time she got on the school bus to the time the spicy crab was ready, it would take at least 50 minutes. That was to say, Yanjika wouldn't be able to eat anything until after 1:40 p.m. She had been training all morning and needed to replenish her energy. By that time she would be very hungry. I should buy some snacks for her to eat on the way. While choosing, Lu Qing recalled Yanjika's words and tried to find what she liked. Well, she doesn't like sweet biscuits. She prefers soda-flavored biscuits. I can't buy too much. It will affect the following arrangements. A few minutes later, Lu Qing took a small bag of biscuits to the cashier. He thought for a while and added a small bottle of mineral water. He didn't ask for a bag and put them in his left and right pockets. I have to give her a surprise. When he arrived at the bus stop, he put his hands in the pockets of his leather jacket to hide their bulging. Not long after, he saw a beautiful figure walking towards him gracefully. Yenjika was wearing a pink sweater inside and a long white down jacket outside. Her hat was trimmed with the same color fur, which made her look delicate and pink. She was wearing black leggings, which made her legs look long and straight. She was wearing a pair of snow boots, which made her look cute and witty. Lu Qing was a little bit fascinated by her. He took a deep breath and told himself to be generous and not timid. Then he pulled out his hands and walked up to her. He smiled and said, "You seem to arrive early every time." When he got closer, he found that Yenjika was carrying a cute shoulder bag with thin straps. She looked like a student. Yenjika wasn't as open as usual. She lowered her head and smiled. "I hate it when people are late. I put myself in your shoes and arrived early." She hates it when people are late. Lu Qing remembered this. He turned around and pointed at the school bus. "Just in time. This bus is leaving soon. I've already bought the tickets." "Okay." Yenjika nodded slightly. She seemed a little shy. She quietly followed Lu Qing. Half a step behind, they boarded the school bus and found seats together. After letting her sit by the window, Lu Qing cheered himself up to ease the girl's uneasiness. He deliberately said, "It's already so late. Are you hungry?" Yenjika was stunned. She slowly nodded and said, "A little. It takes 20 or 30 minutes to get to the old campus. We have to take a taxi and wait for the food to be served. I'm afraid we can't eat in 50 minutes. Lu Qing deliberately analyzed. Suddenly he took out a small bag of biscuits from his pocket. I brought you some soda biscuits. You can eat them first so that your stomach won't hurt." Yenjika raised her right hand and covered her mouth. She looked at Lu Qing in surprise. When she saw the bag of biscuits clearly, her eyes were filled with joy. "Then I'll eat a few pieces first," she said in a low voice, the corner of her mouth curling up unconsciously. Lu Qing hurriedly helped her open the packaging and handed it to her. Yenjika reached out and took a piece out with her slender fingers. She was about to put it into her mouth when she suddenly stopped and whispered, "I didn't bring water. Eating only biscuits will make me uncomfortable." Lu Qing smiled and, magically, took out a small bottle of mineral water. He unscrewed the cap and looked straight into her eyes. "I've already prepared it for you." Yenjika's pink lips slightly opened. A layer of hazy mist quickly passed through her beautiful eyes. She turned her head and looked out of the window. Biting her lips, she smiled and said, "I was wondering what you put in your pocket." "So it's these?" Watching her eat the biscuits and drink the water delicately, Lu Qing struck while the iron was hot. He took out his phone and played a video he had downloaded in advance. "This is the competition highlights of Hongluo Martial Arts School's principal, Jiang Guoxing. Koqian, what do you think?" The principal of Hongluo Martial Arts School was a professional sixth pin dance stage master named Wang Hui. He was already old. The main force this time was his disciples and disciples. The leader was Jiang Guoxing, a professional ninth pin, his personal disciple, ranked 5th and 34 years old. Yenjika leaned her head over and looked at the video with her bright eyes. "I studied it seriously last night." According to the information on the internet, the principal of the school, Wang Hui, once had a background in the Longhu Club. Therefore, their boxing obviously has the shadow of the unique skill of the fire sect. They are good at exploding and attacking. They also have the secret burning force. Once hit, the force will explode and cause a burning sensation on the skin. It's somewhat similar to your supernatural ability of blaze, but it doesn't have the tremor force you described. Lu Qing also leaned a little closer to her. Looking at her soft black hair and smelling the refreshing fragrance, he was a little distracted and almost couldn't concentrate. He had to force himself to use the condensation stance and said seriously, "Their fighting style does have the flavor of fire-like invasion. Exploding, 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 trying to crush the enemy before they are exhausted." On this point, Jiang Guoxing is more cautious, while Fang Tong is more violent, like an uncontrollable flame. But Jiang Guoxing has mastered a killer move better. It seems that he has compressed the force of his whole body to a very small range before exploding. It has the flavor of dance stage. Yenjika said in high spirits. Her previous nervousness and uneasiness had unknowingly dissipated by more than half. Fang Tong was another professional ninth pin master in Hongluo Martial Arts School. He was the disciple of the principal of the school, Wang Hui. He was a powerful fighter at the age of 23. The Hongluo martial arts school team with 2 professional 9th pin masters could be considered average in the preliminaries. They talked about this matter on the way. When they arrived at the old campus, Lu Qing was pleasantly surprised to find that Yen Zhika seemed to have returned to normal, except that she would blush occasionally when he stared at her. The two walked in the campus and rushed to the nearest north gate. The online hailing car was waiting there. The spring chill was still there and the wind was very chilly. Lu Qing unconsciously peeked at Yen Zhika's left hand. The girl's skin was white and tender, her fingers were long and slender, and her fingernails were pink and healthy. If I hold her hand, will she shake me off? Thump, thump, thump. As this idea suddenly emerged, Lu Qing's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. Various thoughts flashed in his mind back and forth. Although she said that she needs to adapt to the state of being in a relationship, since we are already in a relationship, it should be okay to hold her hand, right? Will this make her unhappy? Will she think that I don't respect her and hold her hand before she is ready? Just when he was hesitating, Yen Zhika suddenly put her hands into the pockets of her down jacket and said with a smile, "It's still quite cold today." Yeah. Lu Qing was speechless. Well, no need to struggle. Yen Zhika looked at him and asked curiously, "Qing, what's wrong with you?" "Nothing. I'm just afraid that you will be hungry, so I feel a little guilty." Lu Qing said his real thoughts but not the thoughts just now. Yen Zhika pursed her lips and smiled, "This is the time I chose. What does it have to do with you?" While chatting, the two arrived at the north gate. They got on the online hailing car and came to the Dingshang spicy crab. The lunch market ended at 2:30. Lu Qing had already checked, so he was not worried that he could not make it in time. 6 crabs, the kind that costs 499 yuan. Lu Qing blurted out the words he had long prepared when he saw the waiter. He did not plan to care about money on the first date. When the waiter was about to record it, Yen Zhika pulled Lu Qing, pursed her lips and said, "Let's go with the 199 yuan one. The taste of crabs is about the same. The bigger the crab, the heavier the shell. It's not worth it. The 199 yuan one is just right. If it's smaller, there won't be much meat in the crab legs." She stared at Lu Qing with her clear black and white eyes, indicating her opinion. Seeing the girl so insistent and thinking that her grandfather's family was in Jiangnan, which was a good place to eat crabs, Lu Qing was not the kind of person who would puff himself up at his own cost. He nodded and said, "Okay, let's go with the 199 yuan one. Let's go with 4 first. Didn't you say that we can eat them as hot pot later? Didn't you say that their handmade noodles are very good?" "It's boring to just eat crabs," Yen Zhika said seriously. Lu Qing thought about it and agreed. So he said with a smile, "Coach Yen, you are so comprehensive." "Of course." Yen Zhika raised her chin and smiled. They found a quiet place and sat down. As usual, they chatted about various things. It seemed that they had endless topics to talk about until the waiter brought the spicy crab to them. The aroma filled their nostrils. Lu Qing made a gesture to let Yen Zhika taste it first. Seeing the girl pick up a piece with a smile and nibble it gently, he suddenly felt a little nervous. He was worried that it would not be to her taste. Yen Zhika sucked the meat out of the crab leg skillfully. She closed her eyes and said with a smile, "It tastes really good. The sweetness of the crab meat is not lost, and the spiciness is very appetizing." Phew. Lu Qing was relieved as if he had been praised. He said with a smile, "Then you eat more. Don't just watch. You are the main force who can eat 5 yuan of rice." Yen Zhika joked with a smile. After finishing the spicy crab and rice cake, she was waiting for the hot pot to boil. She asked with great interest, "Qing, what kind of fighting style are you going to use tomorrow?" Lu Qing had already thought about it. He said after some consideration, "If Hongluo martial arts school paid attention to this, they would have searched for my name. That is to say, they should know my fighting style and my strengths except for the power of blaze. Since it's a martial arts competition, I will definitely try my best. I don't want to leave my trump card for the future. So, as long as I fight, I will use the power of blaze to open the way and try to defeat the opponent quickly. When the second opponent loses the element of surprise, I want to pretend to move with mercurial balance. Once I find an opportunity, I will immediately suppress them with 24 blizzard strikes. I won't give them any chance to break out." How could he not try his best in an official competition in front of the girl he loved for the first time? Yen Zhika rested her cheek on her left hand and listened attentively. Her eyes seemed to be shining. After discussing the fighting style for a while and eating the hot pot, they paid the bill with full hearts. Because of the discount, they spent more than 900 yuan. For Lu Qing, who was rich and generous, after participating in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, It didn't cause any heartache. Instead, he felt that it was worth it. As long as the girl was satisfied. After leaving the restaurant, Lu Qing unconsciously coughed and pretended that nothing had happened. Let's go to the shopping mall over there. It's good for digestion. Okay. Yanjika didn't object. The two of them walked side by side. The girl's scent, which was both clear and musk, entered Lu Qing's nose, making him feel impulsive and expectant. He took a quick glance at the girl and found that her hands were swaying beside her and not in her pockets. It seemed that she had just finished eating the hot pot and was still warm. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing heard his heart beating faster again. Should I hold her hand? She is not completely ready yet. But she likes me a little. She also agreed to my confession. Holding hands should be allowed, right? Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing wanted to hold her hand but didn't dare to. He was afraid that he would upset the girl and leave a bad impression on her. Suddenly he had a flash of inspiration. He thought of the method that Kai Zongming had taught him before. Should I try that? Pretend to hold her hand but don't really hold her hand. Thump, thump, thump. This idea completely defeated all other thoughts. Lu Qing couldn't restrain himself anymore. While chatting with Yanjika, he looked straight ahead and slowly reached his right hand to the side. Thump, thump, thump. Thump, thump, thump. Although it was just a fake hand holding, Lu Qing's heart felt like it was going to jump out of his chest. He didn't know how the girl would react or feel. Because of the unknown he was nervous. Because of the importance he was scared. Thump, thump, thump. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing swallowed his saliva with difficulty. His right hand was stiff and trembling as he pulled Yanjika's delicate hand. When he touched the back of the girl's hand, he felt that her skin was delicate, smooth and slightly cold. In his listening skill, he sensed that Yanjika's left hand suddenly shrank, but then froze there. She didn't withdraw her hand but maintained a slight contact. There seemed to be a ray of light hanging down in Lu Qing's mind, illuminating all the darkness. He didn't dare to look at Yanjika. He turned his palm over and held her slightly thin hand tightly. He was extremely excited and nervous. Listening skill can be used in this way. The girl beside him was counting ants with her head down. Lu Qing held her delicate hand and felt as if he was stepping on clouds. All he could think of was the place where their skin touched. He had completely forgotten what day it was. His palms were sweating because of excitement and nervousness. He just wanted to hold Yanjika's hand like this and walk forever. It would be best if they could never reach the end of the road. He completely ignored the surrounding scenery and the shops they passed. After a long time, Yanjika asked softly, "Where are we going?" Lu Qing suddenly woke up with a start. He looked around with a dumbfounded expression. "Where are we?" He explained in a panic, I was too excited and nervous. I didn't look at the road, and my palm is sweaty and wet. Yanjika must hate it." Strong annoyance filled his heart. Yanjika glanced at him and suddenly smiled. She pulled back her hand, took off her backpack and took out a tissue. She handed it to him and said with a smile, "You didn't sweat so much even when you were in the challenge tournament?" Lu Qing took the tissue and wiped the sweat on his right hand. He felt a sense of loss and emptiness. He felt that his performance today was not good enough. They probably wouldn't have the chance to hold hands again. He had to wait for the next time. At this moment he suddenly felt a softness in his palm. The girl's cold left hand reached over and gently held the edge of his palm. Lu Qing was wild with joy. He held her hand tightly and looked up. He saw Yanjika turn her head to the other side. Her delicate ears were red and the skin on the side of her face was as smooth as jade. There was a touch of soul-stirring redness. P.S. When I was writing this chapter, a song that I used to listen to often echoed in my mind. The first time I held your hands, I lost my way and didn't know where to go. Did I reveal my age? PS2. I had something to do today, so I was running around outside. 2 chapters will be released at the same time. There will be no more chapters tonight. But this is a good time to release them at the same time. I wrote the main point of the date and revealed the first opponent of the preliminaries. As for why I didn't release it as an extra chapter, it was because after 2 months of courting death, I successfully ran out of chapters. I'm finished. Chapter 114. Lu Qing felt that he would never forget the scene in front of him. The girl's shyness occupied his sight and filled his heart. Holding the delicate hand that seemed like it would slip away at any moment, he wanted to say something to express the joy and excitement in his heart, but he forced himself not to. Yanjika plucked up her courage and dared to hold his hand. It was better to let her calm down at this time. The more he said, the more he confessed, the more pressure she would feel. She might even get angry out of embarrassment. An elder said it well, keep quiet and you can make a fortune. Let's go that way. Lu Qing pretended that nothing had happened and identified the direction, but his right hand that was holding Yanjika's hand tightened and held it firmly. Okay. Yanjika answered in a low voice. Lu Qing stepped forward happily without looking at her, giving her time to recover. The whole way was as light as a feather, like a couple returning home together. When they arrived at the cake shop he had chosen, they didn't talk much, but their hands unconsciously intertwined. The fresh cream cake here is very good. It's not too sweet and it's not greasy. I think it suits your taste. Do you want to take one back for breakfast tomorrow? Lu Qing introduced it to Yanjika, trying to encourage her to go in. Yanjika's black and soft eyebrows moved slightly and she asked in confusion, "How do you know the fresh cream cake here is good?" Lu Qing wanted to say that he had tasted it, but suddenly he felt that it would make her feel touched. After holding hands with her, any further intention to go further could cause pressure to her. After all, she didn't like him very much and completely let down her guard, completely accepting the relationship. If he pushed too much, it could easily cause problems. So he paused and said, "I checked it on the internet and happened to see it." Checked it on the internet. Yanjika repeated in a low voice and looked up at the shop sign, Mimi Bread. She seemed to be moved by Lu Cheng's description and didn't refuse. She happily entered the shop and chose a fresh cream cake for herself. She also bought 5 pieces of meat floss bread for Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng had mentioned that his favorite bread was meat floss when they talked about snacks on QQ. After paying the bill, Lu Cheng pretended to be calm. He took the girl's hand again and intertwined his fingers with hers. When Yanjika also held his hand, he secretly felt relieved. Feeling the beauty of intertwining fingers, he carried the cake and bread, chatted casually, and led the girl to another predetermined place. "Are you tired? The environment here seems to be quite nice and quiet. Shall we go in and have a seat?" When they arrived, Lu Cheng pretended to be observing and pointed at the coffee shop. He added, "This kind of shop usually has more than just coffee." Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled, showing her dimples. "I thought you would drag me all the way." When she said the word drag, a thin blush appeared on her cheeks. She tried to let her senses leave the place where their skin touched and fingers intertwined. Seeing that the girl had recovered and was in the mood to joke, Lu Qing became more excited and said self-deprecatingly, "Am I such an inconsiderate person? Who was the one who kept walking all the way until he couldn't recognize the road?" Yanjika's dimples deepened and she laughed in a low voice, mercilessly exposing Lu Cheng's fright just now. I'm so excited." Lu Qing finally had a chance to express his feelings just now. At the same time he opened the door of the coffee shop and walked to the secluded booth. When he reached the 4-seater booth, he let go of his delicate hand and watched Yanjika sit down. His palm was empty and he felt a sense of loss. Looking at the seat opposite Yanjika and the seat beside her, Lu Qing suddenly had a flash of inspiration. He said seriously, "You sit in the inner row. Let's sit in the same row. Later we'll watch other videos of Hongluo Martial Arts School together and ponder over them. I still need to ask Coach Yen to continue her guidance." "Thank you, Master." "Thank you, friends of Hongluo Martial Arts School. You still remember that I'm Coach Yen?" Yanjika joked, but after thinking about it she stood up and moved to the inner seat. Lu Qing quickly sat down with her, took the drink and snacks menu from the waiter and opened it in front of Yanjika. This time he didn't introduce anything because the milk tea in the coffee shop was all right. Yanjika couldn't choose wrong one. As for the snacks, according to her taste, she didn't like chocolate and didn't like the type that was too sweet. The range of choices was naturally limited. Coincidentally, he had tried all of them and found that the quality was above standard. Hong Kong-style milk tea and chiffon cake. Yanjika thought for a while and made her choice. Lu Qing also ordered a cup of Mandarin duck. Then he found a shelf, took out his phone and put it on the table to play the battle highlights of other members of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Seeing that Yanjika was watching seriously, he quietly reached out his right hand and grabbed the girl's delicate hand on her leg. He pulled her close and put her hand on his thigh. Yanjika was shocked at first, then she said with anger and amusement, "Watch carefully." Sitting together to study battle videos and asking Coach Yen to teach him were all excuses. Yes, watch carefully." Lu Qing stared at the phone screen, but his 5 fingers were tightly intertwined with the girl's slender fingers. He didn't want to part with her at all. The tip of his nose faintly smelled the fragrance that tickled his heart. For a long time after that, the two of them studied videos and talked about battles. From time to time they would talk nonsense and watch funny things. Before they knew it, more than 2 hours had passed. Other than going to the washroom, their hands never left each other. Recalling the scene of Yenjika's smile just now, Lu Qing felt that this was the end of his fairy-like days. Unfortunately, happiness was always short-lived. Night would come eventually. Yenjika suddenly found that the sky outside had turned dark. She quickly turned on her phone and looked at the time. Slightly surprised, she said, "It's almost 6 o'clock. Let's go back? Why don't we go back after dinner?" Lu Qing had visited more than one restaurant, so he took the opportunity to make a suggestion. Yenjika looked up and said wittily, "Let's go back to school. I'll treat you to the cafeteria." Okay. Lu Qing didn't insist. It was their first date, so they should know when to stop. He closed the funny video and started to book a car. Yenjika took another sip of milk tea and said with satisfaction, "The milk tea in this restaurant is quite good. You can choose any random restaurant and it's so good. You're lucky today." How could it be random? Lu Qing was satisfied and said with a smile, No, Kochien, it's your luck. I've used my luck in other places." After saying this, he deliberately shook their intertwined hands. Yenjika blushed and spat. She turned her head and looked to the side. Back to the old campus, the two seemed to have forgotten to let go. Just like this, holding each other's hand, they walked slowly along the road full of ginkgo trees and past the quaint old teaching building. They were already immune to the stares of passers-by. After they got on the school bus and sat for a while, Lu Qing saw the bus start to move. When he was about to say something, he saw Yenjika close her eyes. Her long, black and thick eyelashes were like two small fans, trembling slightly. Her head was nodding. She had already fallen asleep. She had trained for 4 hours. She didn't take a nap before coming out for a date. She played until 6 in the evening. She wasn't as strong as he was, so it was inevitable that she would feel sleepy and tired. Lu Qing looked at her with pity. He held her hand tightly and used a subtle force to change the direction of her fall without waking her up. He pulled her over and let her lean on his shoulder slowly. At the same time, he adjusted his body muscles to sense the movement of the bus. Once the bumpy road was too bumpy, he applied the opposite force to Yenjika to offset it. He wanted her to sleep soundly and not slide down. Her beautiful head was on his shoulder. His nose was filled with a delicate fragrance. Her delicate skin was on his side. Beside his ear was the girl's long and thin breath. Lu Qing only felt peaceful, safe and happy. However, he also felt the weight from her and felt the pressure of wanting her to live a better life. Maybe this is what Dad said about a man's responsibility. The bus drove and arrived at the new campus. Lu Qing pushed Yenjika and laughed in a low voice. "Get up quickly. We're going to be late for the martial arts special training." Yenjika's beautiful dark eyes were blank, and her expression made Lu Qing's heart tremble. Then she came back to herself and said with a blush on her pretty face, "Turn your head around. Turn your head around. Don't move." Lu Qing was puzzled, but he still looked at the aisle. He heard the girl unzip her backpack, take out a tissue, and wipe the shoulders and arms of his leather jacket. "I see," he blurted out. But before he could finish, he was fiercely interrupted by the girl. "Haven't you seen others drooling in their sleep?" Coach Yen drooling in her sleep is so cute." Lu Qing couldn't help but praise from the bottom of his heart. Yenjika snorted. "I don't want to talk to you anymore." Lu Qing smiled and pulled the angry Yenjika out of the car and walked to the cafeteria. Along the way, he observed the girl's reaction. If she felt uncomfortable holding hands in a campus with so many acquaintances, he would let go of her hand. But Yenjika didn't show any signs of pulling back her hand except for her face turning red. After entering the cafeteria, Yenjika took him to the food window first. She took out her meal card and said, "Rice for 2 yuan and 3 yuan. The waiter looked at the two of them in surprise, as if he was observing if they were the representatives of a group of people so that he could decide how many bowls to use to get the rice. Yenjika said innocently, "The guy next to me has a big belly. He eats a lot. Not counting the dishes, he eats 2 yuan of rice." Lu Qing almost burst out laughing. "So you've added your own food intake as well?" "I didn't see it." The waiter sighed. Yenjika snickered and glanced sideways at Lu Qing. She looked a little smug and cheeky. But Lu Qing only felt that she was a feast for the eyes. He just wanted to look at her and was not in the mood to eat. After a long meal, the two of them reluctantly came to the door of Yenjika's dormitory of the 3rd building. Yenjika covered her mouth and yawned. She said with a smile, I didn't take a nap. I feel so tired. Then go back to the dormitory quickly. Go to bed after washing up. Sleep when you're sleepy. Lu Qing said with concern. Yanjika nodded obediently. Then she put on a serious face and said like an old mother, go to bed early after you go back. Don't keep studying videos. You have to strike a balance between work and rest. Don't be tired tomorrow. Do you understand? Lu Qing felt warm in his heart. He snickered and said, got it, Coach Yan? Yanjika almost burst out laughing. She pursed her lips and waved her hand. Cheng, see you tomorrow? Lu Qing imitated her words and said seriously, see you tomorrow? Hearing that, Yanjika covered her mouth and chuckled. She turned around and walked 2 steps. Then she stopped and turned back. She smiled shyly and timidly. Cheng, I had a very good time today. Without waiting for Lu Cheng's reply, she quickened her pace and entered the dormitory like a nimble white rabbit. When she was about to enter the door of the unit, she turned around and looked at Lu Cheng, who was still staring blankly at her. She smiled. When Yanjika's back disappeared in the corridor, Lu Cheng smiled gently and said in a low voice, I'm also very happy, 100 times happier. In a room on the 2nd floor of Hongluo Martial Arts School, the schoolmaster Wang Hui, whose white hair was tinged with silver, asked the 3 men beside him, have you found any information about Lu Cheng of Songqing University Martial Arts Club? The one with no rank. Jiang Guoxing had been practicing martial arts for many years. His appearance, which was not outstanding, had become somewhat masculine. He sat upright and said, we've checked. He's not an ordinary person. He participated in the Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament and made it to the top 8. He can defeat a professional 9th pin fighter after only half a year of practicing martial arts. It shows his talent and strength. He's not better than Lin Ke, but we can't underestimate him. Wang Hui nodded slightly and looked at the other man with a smile. Qingyun, you've met your match. Songqing is big but also small. There are only a few young people with potential. Jiang Guoxing looked over as well, looking at the young man with sharp eyes. This was the last disciple of his master, Pan Qingyun, who had just turned 20 and practiced martial arts for less than 2 years. He had already reached the level of amateur first pin. But according to the usual practice, he believed that he had already reached the level of professional 9th pin. He was just waiting for the ranking event. In this preliminaries, he was the secret weapon of his martial arts school. He would give Songqing University Martial Arts Club a surprise. A team with 3 professional 9th pin fighters was capable of competing for a place in the division. Pan Qingyun said calmly, I've seen his competition videos. His weaknesses are as clear as his strengths. He's the kind of fighter who can defeat a professional 9th pin fighter if he performs well. But once restrained, he can even lose to an amateur 1st or 2nd pin fighter. I'm sure I can beat him. Chapter 115. Hearing Pan Qingyun's words, Wang Hui nodded slightly and said, it's good to be confident. He turned to Fang Tong as he said, but it's not good to be too confident. You must guard against arrogance and impatience in tomorrow's match. Fang Tong's hair stood up, wantonly and flamboyant. His face was angular and full of vigor. He was the type that even a naughty kid would not dare to make a fuss. He replied with a blank face, yes, Grandmaster. Seeing his attitude, Wang Hui sighed quietly. This grand disciple of his was good at everything, but he was too impatient and too arrogant. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been unable to unify his martial arts. He could release but couldn't take it back. He was only 1 step away from the dance stage, but he hadn't made any progress for more than 3 years. He had gone from being a slightly famous genius martial artist in Songqing to being the joke of other martial arts clubs. He only hoped that Qingyun's rapid improvement could put pressure on him and reduce his arrogance and impatience. Looking around, Wang Hui said to Pan Qingyun, don't worry. You haven't participated in any official match for more than 3 months, and these 3 months are the period when your improvement is the fastest. Your opponent will definitely not know your details and will still regard you as an amateur first pin fighter. But you can't be careless because of this. After all, the usual practice with Guoxing and Fang Tong is different from fighting in the ring. You have to adapt and master your improved strength so that you won't be rusty. Before Pan Qingyun could answer, he said with emotion, this is a good opportunity for our martial arts club. You have to do your best to make a name for yourself. And fame equaled money. The bigger the city, the more hidden and difficult it was for martial arts clubs to gain benefits through their inextricable connections with the underworld. Due to the attention of the public, the focus of attention, and the close supervision of the government, Songqing was much more regulated and lawless than other small cities. Many martial arts clubs did not dare to neglect their own main business. Instead, they maintained their profits and made a fortune by charging high fees from peripheral students and rich disciples. If they were not famous enough, it would be difficult to recruit people. After a long time, it was foreseeable that they would close down or take risks out of desperation. In addition, there was a very important point. Talented and excellent disciples were always in demand. If they were not famous, who would choose your martial arts club to learn martial arts? In today's society, the source of martial artists was actually two major selections. The first one was when they graduated from primary school and began to develop. When they were able to practice martial arts, they passed the unified test and were promoted to special martial arts schools. The rest of them went to school normally. After all, a reasonable and well-functioning society undoubtedly needed talents in all aspects. Not only martial artists but also some professions such as scientists were more important than martial artists. After this round of selection, unless one's family was rich and was willing to pay the expensive cost of practicing martial arts, most people would give up on practicing martial arts. They would treat it as a hobby and focus on other aspects. Because of this, Lu Qing, who had followed this normal path to study, had very few martial arts practitioners around him. Most of them were amateurs. Most of the special martial arts schools were established by the government. Relying on the resources and organizational ability that were better than all the martial arts clubs, they constantly created a large number of martial artists who were not inclined to any force in this way to enrich the military, police, and other violent departments. In view of this, Shangqing sect, Longhu Club, and other forces also set up their own martial arts schools to train a large number of reserve disciples. Jin Tao, the Invincible Punch, was a student of Juku branch of Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy. However, even though there were many martial arts schools, compared to the number of suitable martial artists, they were still a drop in the bucket. Only the best could be admitted, and there were bound to be cases of missing talents. Some people were even slow to show their talent. They could only slowly show their talent at the age of 14, 15, 17, or 18. This gave the martial arts club a chance to carry out a second round of selection. Martial arts schools were backward when it came to nurturing a large number of martial artists. However, if there were only a few dozen elite disciples, it would be like a sect's master-disciple inheritance, which was better than a martial arts school. Therefore, it had produced many famous experts, which made many young people with dreams abandon the martial arts school without hesitation after they couldn't enter a sect's martial arts society or other big forces. They threw themselves into the arms of martial arts schools. Therefore, the martial arts club, with the talented disciples as the core, even began to pay them a certain amount of salary after they had reached the level of amateur first pin to maintain their strength. Then, through advertising, preliminaries, local challenge tournaments, and other ways to make a name for themselves and attract amateurs and rich disciples. This was not only a monetary gain, but also a chance to find talents who had been buried for various reasons. It was also a way to expand one's network and get other opportunities to make money. On the surface it was martial arts, but on the inside it was a business. As a business, it would be strange if they were not interested in the preliminaries that were broadcasted by the local and surrounding TV stations. Who didn't like the advertisements that didn't pay? Humming a pop song, Lu Qing returned to the dormitory. He felt a little tipsy and only felt that everything was wonderful. He couldn't wait to let everyone be as happy as he was. He knocked on the door of the small dormitory next door and was not surprised to see that the rich second-generation Qin Mo and Mao Yuanxing, who had brought his girlfriend, were not there. Only Tang Wen, who was addicted to games, was diligent. He almost forgot the date of last semester's exam because of this. If it weren't for the people around him who reminded him, he would have definitely failed with this ridiculous reason. Of course, without doubt, he still failed 3 subjects and was preparing for the makeup exam at the beginning of the school term. "Where's Talker?" Lu Qing asked. Tang Wen, who was addicted to studying, was stunned. After thinking carefully, he said, "I think he went to the balcony to call his girlfriend." Lu Qing calmed down and vaguely heard the sound of voices on the balcony. He thanked him and closed the door so as not to disturb Tang Wen's hard work. When he was about to return to his own small dormitory, he saw the glass door of the balcony open and Kai Zhongming walk in with a smile. "Damn weather, it's so cold to make a call." Little Ming exhaled a breath of white air when he closed the door. Lu Qing laughed and said, "Don't you know how to video chat in the dormitory? There are people in the dormitory. Some private words are not convenient to say, you know." Kai Zongming deliberately raised his eyebrows. Dirty. Lu Qing scolded with a smile. Bah. You're dirty? I'm talking about mushy words of love. What the hell are you thinking? You've been in a relationship recently, so your blood is rushing down? Kai Zongming went all out to ridicule Lu Qing. Lu Qing clicked his tongue and said, Are your words of love not dirty? You're an old hand. After that, he looked around and said in a low voice, Casanova, tell me if there's a problem with what I'm doing. He briefly explained that Yenjika was not ready yet, that she accepted his confession after hesitating, that she needed some time to get used to it, and that he had tried to hold her hand successfully today. In the end he said, Is this not showing respect to her thoughts? Is this too reckless and impatient? Kai Zongming snorted and said, Who asked you to confess randomly? If you follow my steps there won't be any problems. But you did a good job today. You can't follow the pace of a girl in this kind of thing. You must strike while the iron is hot. Really? Lu Qing put on the attitude of a serious student. Kai Zongming smiled with his hands in his pockets and said, The current state of your goddess is like standing on a swamp, unable to resist the temptation of the world of love below. She has already accepted her fate and given up resistance. She is slowly sinking, but she hasn't adjusted her mentality yet. She wants to slow down and gradually get used to it. If you pull her too fast and let her sink too fast out of fear, uncertainty, and lack of love, it will indeed cause a reverse mentality. It is very likely that she will start to hate you. But you can't do nothing and let her adjust her mentality by herself. First of all, who knows what she will think after she adjusts? Maybe it will be good or bad. Second of all, as time passes, the affective feelings will weaken. It is very likely that she will calm down and re-examine herself. At that time, if you want to increase her favorability, it will take twice the effort for half the result. She may even say, I don't think we are suitable for each other, let's break up. So, you have to take advantage of the current situation and close the distance between you and her within the limit to increase her favorability. This is the meaning of strike while the iron is hot. You can't really not get close to her just because she says no. Sometimes, even she herself doesn't know whether she wants it or not. Lu Qing felt that it was better than 10 years of studying. He nodded sincerely. You are indeed the Casanova? Kai Zongming chuckled and said, Accepting the confession means establishing a relationship. Establishing a relationship means holding hands. She won't be too resistant to this and is mentally prepared for it. However, don't go any further than that for the time being, lest you give her too much pressure and cause the opposite effect. Maintain the current trend of getting closer and closer, step by step, and slowly pull her over. Sigh, you're making this foreign dog jealous. It's a pity that you don't have time to go to the capital this semester. Lu Qing looked at little Ming sympathetically. Kai Zongming clicked his tongue and said, If I don't go, she can come. I've already succeeded in bewitching her. This time I don't need to save money. I have a lot of red packets. Awesome. Lu Qing gave him a thumbs up. By the way, are you ready for tomorrow's competition? As a member of the special training, Kai Zongming asked with concern. Lu Qing nodded and smiled. Almost. I'll think about it again later. Then I'll help you find some audience. Kai Zongming laughed and suddenly went to Lu Cheng's dormitory. He opened the door and said to Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye, who were relaxing at home on the weekend, Good news. Good news. Cheng is going to represent Songqing University in the competition tomorrow. Let's go cheer together. Represent Songqing University? Cheng. Zhao Chang looked back in surprise and pushed his black-rimmed glasses. Martial arts competition? Qiu Zhigao turned his head in surprise. Only Zhang Jingye looked confused and didn't seem to understand. Kai Zongming laughed. Yes, martial arts competition. Didn't Coach Shi organize a team to participate in the preliminaries? Cheng is the main force. Tomorrow we will fight against Hongluo Martial Arts School in Songqing. Because of his own arrangement, Qiu Zhigao didn't attend the first 3 martial arts classes, so he knew nothing about it. He stood up abruptly and looked at Lu Qing behind Kai Zongming in surprise. You're the main force? Isn't this a bit unscientific? No, it's not a bit, it's too unscientific. Without Lu Cheng's explanation, Kai Zongming chuckled and said, Cheng has been recognized as a martial arts genius. Now he has the strength of a professional 9th pin. That day he fought with Lin Kei and lost only because of one move. Professional 9th pin. Qiu Zhigao gasped. As an amateur, he had a deep understanding of the difficulty of rank promotion. It took a newcomer with no rank to reach professional 9th pin in half a year. A martial arts genius? Zhao Chang looked Lu Qing up and down as if he wanted to see something. You didn't know who you were before? Well, I didn't know much about martial arts before, and Coach sure is a man with a lot of talent. Lu Qing said casually. Zhao Chang sighed. Of course, we have to rely on ourselves, but we also have to consider the course of history. The competition is at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Are you going to cheer? Kai Zongming asked again. Of course. Why not? We are the masters in our dormitory. How awesome it is. Qiu Zhigao calmed down and said excitedly. Zhang Jingye hesitated and said hesitantly, Can I bring someone else? Oh. Zhao Chang asked blankly. Kai Zongming chuckled. Model worker, I didn't expect you to have a girlfriend without anyone knowing about it. Hey, I'm almost there. Zhang Jingye smiled honestly. Damn. Zhao Chang blurted out and pointed at Zhang Jingye. I understand now. Dogs that don't bark bite. When did you find a girlfriend? Lu Qing also admired him. He spent so much effort to get Yenjika. How did Zhang Jingye get a girlfriend all of a sudden? Haha, last semester when I came back from self-study, I saw a group of students in the Academy of Arts shooting a Weibo video. I was curious and was invited to be an extra. I met one of the girls and then we became friends. Zhang Jingye described briefly. After everyone sighed, Zhao Chang said seriously, Model worker, even if you have a girlfriend, you should study hard. You can't indulge in beauty. By the way, when will they shoot a Weibo video? Poof. Everyone burst into laughter and the atmosphere was quite warm. After washing up, Yenjika climbed into her small bed and leaned against the minion. She covered herself with the quilt and unlocked her phone. She smiled unconsciously and was about to reply to Lu Cheng's message on QQ when she suddenly remembered something. She opened the browser and entered the search page. Mimi bread. She entered the name of the bakery and wanted to see if the fresh cream cake was as good as Lu Cheng said. In the blink of an eye, the search result came out. Yenjika was a little surprised. Because there was no search result of Mimi bread, only related adjectives. Search on the internet. Yenjika seemed to understand something. She lifted the quilt and climbed down. She opened the fresh cream cake on the desk and tasted it. It's not too sweet, but it's just right. Yenjika sat there in a daze, twirling her hair with her left hand and shaking the spoon with her right hand. Her dimples were vaguely visible as she gazed at the cake with tenderness. Chapter 116. The next day, after the morning exercise, Lu Qing finished the meat floss bread and soy milk in the cafeteria. He was very satisfied, as if he was enjoying a bento made with love. Stepping into the martial arts arena, he looked at the scattered crowd and automatically found Yenjika's figure. The girl happened to look at him too. Their eyes met and they smiled at each other, sweet and warm. Biting her lower lip, Yenjika unbuttoned the pocket of her martial arts suit and took out her cell phone. Lowering her head, she ran her fingers through her hair and tapped on the screen quickly. Beep. A QQ message came from Lu Cheng's pocket. He took it out with a smile and unlocked it. Sure enough, it was from the girl. The fresh cream cake is delicious. Yenjika said. As long as you are satisfied. Lu Qing was full of a sense of achievement. The meat floss bread you picked is also great. Yenjika sent an emoji of a panda scratching its head. Just that I had to brush my teeth one more time. Why did you brush your teeth one more time? Lu Qing sent a confused emoji. Yes. I'm going to put my things away. Yenjika turned off her phone, looked up and smiled. She went to the women's locker room with Guqing to lock her mobile phone and other belongings and clothes in her closet. Yes? Did she eat too much sweets and brush her teeth one more time? Or did she eat more sweets after brushing her teeth last night? But she didn't mention this when we were chatting. Lu Qing let his imagination run wild and stepped into the men's locker room. Because there was a competition in the afternoon, the intensity of the special training was reduced to maintain the condition. In the end, the sparring was cancelled. Geezer sure gathered all the members together and curled his lips. Songqing University is so stingy. They only gave us a little subsidy. If it were a better martial arts club, they would have all kinds of sparring partners for targeted training before the competition. But for us, we can only rely on our mouths. If the members of the martial arts club were sparring partners, they would not be targeted because of their similar kung fu characteristics. It would be great if there was a superpower that could create a corresponding figure just by talking. Kai Zongming muttered softly. Lu Qing glanced at him and laughed in a low voice. Then you would be rich. Who can compete with the talker? Unfortunately, the heavens didn't give me a chance. Kai Zongming sighed regretfully. Geezer sure coughed twice and said, "Those kids who are not the main players and substitutes of the preliminaries can leave now. Those who are willing to watch the match can wait at the bus stop at 1:30. Li Xiaowen, this is an away game, so there won't be many spectators. You don't have to organize the cheers. Just help us prepare the logistics." After Yanjika was promoted to a substitute for the preliminaries, her former cheerleading duties were handed over to her senior, Li Xiaowen. After the other members of the special training left, Geezer sure said, "Have you all seen the materials and videos related to Hongluo Martial Arts School? I'll explain it to you briefly and analyze the strategy. You can think about it on your own on the way." Generally speaking, for different opponents, there would be targeted training 2 or 3 days before the match. However, the specific strategy and arrangement would definitely be put in the locker room before the match. This was to prevent spies from betraying information and being controlled by others. The higher the level of the competition, the stricter the security in this aspect. Geezer sure didn't care about the first stage of the preliminaries at all. He also didn't think that Hongluo Martial Arts School would make a fuss about it. Therefore he explained it in advance to give the green kids enough time to digest it. Seeing that everyone's attention was focused, he laughed and said, "Hongluo Martial Arts School is just like this. You don't have to be too nervous. Just follow my arrangement and you have a great chance of winning." You've seen from the videos that Hongluo Martial Arts School strategy is derived from the unique skill of the fire sect, called fire-like invasion. It emphasizes momentum and explosion. If they explode to the extreme, they have the power of a professional 7th or 8th pin dance stage fighter. However, this level of explosion can't be used at will. They have to adjust their situation bit by bit and receive feedback time and time again. They have to let their body gradually compress and accumulate power like a spring. Therefore, the core of this strategy is to use small explosions to promote a higher level of explosion. They accumulate power step by step until they reach the extreme. Generally speaking, after 8 explosions, the 9th attack will be an invincible attack for those below the dance stage. However, they are still humans, not living gods. After 1 round of explosion, they will basically wither. It's like a burning flame that continues to ignite other things and becomes fiercer and fiercer. When it burns everything around it, it will extinguish itself. From this point of view, this is a strategy that is quite suitable for a life and death battle. The winner will be decided in a few moves. After analyzing up to this point, you must be thinking, then let's fight with a wandering battle and exhaust them until they are exhausted. However, for those who choose this strategy, unless they are extremely agile and are extremely good at wandering battle, when Hongluo Martial Arts School explodes a few times with terrifying speed and agility, their range of movement will be quickly reduced and they will fall into an awkward situation where they can't escape. Lu Qing nodded slightly. He had a deep understanding of this. In the battle with Yi Yaoding and the 9th pin of the Dark Sect, he had tried to fight with a wandering battle with mercurial balance. However, he was either forced to fight head-on or had no chance to fight at all. Geezer sure coughed a few times and got to the point. For this strategy, the best way to deal with it is to fight head-on. You have to disrupt their explosive rhythm and suppress their momentum so that their explosions will become more and more unsatisfactory. He explained in detail how to disrupt their rhythm and suppress their momentum. Lu Qing and the others listened with great interest. Before they knew it, it was already noon. After lunch and a short rest, Lu Qing arrived at the school bus station on time and boarded a school bus specially arranged by the logistics department. Yanjika was too shy to sit in the same row with him in front of so many acquaintances. She pulled Guqing and found a seat for themselves. Lu Qing had to sit behind them with little Ming. He didn't speak much on the way and began to adjust his state of mind and state. When they arrived, he opened his eyes. "Hey, Cheng Chong and the others have good luck with women?" Kai Zongming held his phone and tactfully didn't speak. Instead, he typed a line of words and sent it to Lu Qing through QQ. Lu Qing replied in surprise, "Why?" Model worker only wanted to ask his girlfriend out. However, the girls in his girlfriend's dormitory heard about it and were very interested. They also want to come and have a look. Later they will set off with Chang and Old Xiu. Kai Zongming sent the message while looking at Lu Qing with a mischievous expression. "Not bad, such a good thing." Lu Qing replied quickly. He put his phone in his pocket and was ready to stand up. They had arrived at their destination. Hongluo Martial Arts School was located on the ground floor of a building. It was a quiet place amidst the bustle and the environment was quite good. Lu Qing observed the situation. When Guqing walked into the aisle, he suddenly stood up and squeezed forward. He happened to be right next to Yanjika. He looked forward as if nothing had happened, and stretched out his hand to pull the girl's delicate palm. Yenjika was surprised at first and then looked at Lu Cheng. She saw a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. He turned his head and winked at her. She felt funny and angry at the same time. She blushed slightly and pretended that nothing had happened. She held his hand back and hurriedly withdrew it. She looked around and found that no one had noticed. Then she felt an indescribable sweetness. Lu Cheng, who was also feeling sweet, followed the team full of strength and stepped into the gate of Hongluo Martial Arts School. The martial arts school definitely couldn't compete with Songqing University Martial Arts Club. It was only about the size of 2 lecture halls. There were also locker rooms, strength training rooms and other places. It was enough to teach students martial arts on normal days, but it was too cramped to hold preliminaries. At this moment, the bluestone floor in the center of the martial arts hall was still left as the arena. The surroundings were covered with tatami mats for the audience to sit cross-legged and watch. There were empty aisles on all sides which vaguely had a Japanese-style flavor. Fortunately, there are not many audience members. Otherwise, how can we sit? Kai Zongming clicked his tongue. He didn't have the chance to enter the locker room. He found the tatami mats for the away team, took off his shoes and sat in a kneeling position. Not far from him, Xu Rui led the team and nervously arranged the live broadcast in an orderly manner. After the schedule of preliminaries was arranged on Friday, the first thing Songqing TV station did was to determine which matches would be broadcast live and which would be recorded. For the TV stations in other cities, this wasn't worth considering because there were only 1 or 2 teams participating in the competition, and the times might not overlap. Songqing, as the provincial capital, had attracted many talents. There were more than 20 teams that had signed up for the preliminaries. Just the selection alone would dazzle the audience. In a television station of this level, competitions with lower professional ranks were actually quite popular. To the audience, although the 3 lower ranks professional martial artists were not strong enough, they appeared to be friendly and were not too inhuman. Every punch was on the flesh and it was quite intense. It could stir up the blood in their hearts. Correspondingly, the confirmation of live broadcasts and recordings naturally had to be considered carefully. Xu Rui participated in the meeting as a reporter for Songqing University Martial Arts Club. She said that Lu Cheng and Lin Kei of Songqing University Martial Arts Club were both very interesting and suitable for live broadcast. In the end, the leader of the TV station accepted her idea. At this moment, seeing Lin Kei and Lu Cheng come in, Xu Rui had the urge to say a few words to them. However, according to the rules, they couldn't come into contact with the fighters for half a day before the competition to avoid affecting their state of mind. They could only interview them after the competition. Lu Cheng and the others went all the way to the locker room. They changed into their white martial arts suits with black edges in the cubicles and gathered around Geezer Sure again. I've said what I should say before, so there's nothing to add. Take the time to rest and restore your energy. Geezer Sure coughed and asked everyone to find a place to rest. 2:50 p.m. in the locker room of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Wang Hui glanced at Jiang Guoxing, Fang Tong and Pan Qingyun, who all had different expressions and smiled slightly. Qingyun, you'll be the last one to come out. Give them a surprise, but maybe it won't be your turn, so we'll leave the surprise for later. Fang Tong, you'll be the vanguard. Make sure you win at the start. Guoxing, you'll be the second. If anything happens, you'll be responsible for stabilizing the situation. Yes, Master, Grandmaster. The 3 professional 9th pin fighters answered in unison. Wang Hui nodded with satisfaction. He pointed outside the locker room and said loudly, "Go, show your strength and elegance." In the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Geezer Sure clapped his hands to wake everyone up. He smiled seriously, which was rare for him. The first battle, Lu Cheng. I'll be the first. Lu Cheng was not nervous. Instead, he trembled with excitement. He secretly glanced at Yenjika, only to see that she was also looking at him and making a gesture of encouragement. Geezer Sure continued, "Lu Cheng, you'll be the first one to come out. Test their strength. If anything happens, Lin Kei will be behind you. Don't worry." Lin Kei watched the battle carefully and know what to do. "Sun Jian, you'll be the last one to come out. Maybe you can take advantage of their exhaustion." "Okay, let's go out." Lu Cheng and the others looked at each other. No one organized and no one led them. Suddenly they opened their mouths and shouted together, "Victory!" After shouting, Lu Cheng took the lead and walked out in a line. In front of them were the audience sitting on the tatami, the arranged cameras, and the enemies coming out of the locker room opposite them. P.S. I'll be updating in advance on Monday. I'll be saving my manuscripts tomorrow. Chapter 117. On Sunday afternoon, Yin Xiaoling was still lying in bed, but she had changed her posture. She chose to sit back and put her laptop on her lap. Brahman, are you sure? She glanced at the laptop, took out her phone and quickly sent a message to Brahman. Brahman said with an emoji of the biggest joke in the world. Anyway, that lush self-generating light just posted that Qidao video website has a live broadcast and bought the copyright from Songqing TV station. She even got the trailer before, so this kind of small thing shouldn't be wrong, right? So annoying. The website is so laggy and slow. It hasn't buffered yet. After hearing Brahman's words, Yin Xiaoling, who had just woken up, continued to look for the live broadcast on Qidao video website. After a few minutes, she finally found the words Hongluo Martial Arts School vs Songqing University Martial Arts Club in the corner of the preliminaries subpage. There were also 2 entries for TV station commentator and website commentator. Yin Xiaoling's hand slipped and chose website commentator. After a long buffering time, she finally saw the tatami-covered ground of the martial arts school. She saw the members of Songqing University Martial Arts Club walking out in a line and kneeling separately. She saw the leader Lu Qing. The broadcasting rights of the first stage of the preliminaries were sold by the organizing committee to the TV station of each division, and the TV station took back part of the funds from the video website. The funds that flowed to the organizing committee would eventually be used to pay for the fighters' insurance, the running cost of the competition, and the broadcasting share of the quarterfinals. Because there was no registration limit, it was impossible to get a share of the profits once the competition started. That way, most of the fighters would scam the funds. Only after 7 or 8 competitions and reaching the top 8 of the division would be qualified to profit from the preliminaries. Hey, it's true. Yin Xiaoling sent a message to Brahman happily. Brahman replied quickly, I saw it too. My idol is becoming more and more popular. I'm going to post the link to the Longhu Club forum and show them. The 2 girls were busy for a while. They watched the live broadcast again nervously and excitedly, waiting for the competition to start. 2 minutes before 3 o'clock, Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye finally beat the weekend traffic jam and arrived at Hongluo Martial Arts School in time. They were followed by 4 girls who looked quite studious but were all dressed quite fashionably. Looking around, Zhao Chang saw Kai Zongming and pointed at him happily. Let's go there. The spectator seats left for the visiting team were sparse and spacious. Kai Zongming greeted them warmly and helped to arrange the seats for the girls. He secretly complained to Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao, the aesthetic standards of art students are indeed different from us normal people. At this age, shouldn't they wear clothes that accentuate their youthfulness and their original student aura? Wasn't this dressing a little too mature? If you really want to wear it, do you think you won't have the chance in a few years? Zhao Chang stole a few glances and smiled reservedly. I think it's pretty good. His black-rimmed glasses shone brightly in the sunlight outside the window. Kai Zongming chuckled and didn't say much, because the competition was about to begin. After everyone was seated, the girl sitting next to Zhang Jingye tugged at his sleeve and said with a smile, Who is the awesome roommate you were talking about? This girl had a cute and pleasing round face. She was wearing a light pink coat that was relatively less mature. She was Zhang Jingye's prospective girlfriend, Wu Qian from the Academy of Arts. Hearing her question, the other 3 girls also looked at Zhang Jingye curiously, waiting for his answer. This was the first time in their lives that they had a friend who could be broadcast live on TV. A friend of a friend of a friend. Zhang Jingye pointed at Lu Qing, who was kneeling in the first row of the visiting team's tatami. That do you see? The one on the far left, the one with the spirit. Wu Qian stretched her neck and giggled. Yes, I see. He's quite classy. The other 3 girls were about to open their mouths when they saw the referee in black walking to the center of the bluestone ground. He announced loudly, the first match between Hongluo Martial Arts School and Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Fang Tong vs. Lu Qing. As soon as the referee announced the match, the surrounding audience burst into applause and cheers. Although there weren't many people in the audience, they were all friends and relatives, so they tried their best. Hongluo will win, and Fang Tong will win, echoed in his ears. Lu Qing slowly stood up and turned his head to look at Yanzhika without hiding anything. Yanzhika boldly returned his gaze. Her eyes were as clear as water, like a hidden star. Her face was flushed because of excitement, nervousness and worry. She clenched her fist and waved it. Her pink lips moved up and down as if she was mouthing cheer. With a smile on his face, Lu Qing calmly bent down and put on his shoes. Under the unfriendly gazes of the onlookers, He walked along the aisle towards the arena at a leisurely pace. The strength in his heart gradually settled and accumulated, waiting to erupt when the battle officially began. The audience on the tatami mats was estimated to be less than 100 people. Most of them were the peripheral students of Hongluo Martial Arts School and their friends and relatives. A small number of them were the family members and friends of the participating disciples. It was definitely not comparable to the sea of people in Songqing University Martial Arts Club Stadium. But because it was close to the arena, the cheers and provocations were more impactful, as if someone was roaring next to his ear. Lu Qing was also a martial artist who had experienced a lot, so he wasn't afraid at all. He passed through the curses, provocations and lines of defense formed by gazes and stepped into the arena made of bluestone ground. During this process he could even think of some trivial things. I'm afraid this pair of shoes won't last long. After a few more fierce kicks they will be almost useless. The road of martial arts is really expensive. On the arena, Fang Tong was already standing on the left side of the referee. His hair stood up and his momentum was fierce, as if he would explode at any moment. He was tall, over 185 meters tall, and the simple scarlet-red martial arts suit made him look like a slim-fit suit. 3 minutes. The referee looked at his watch and took a step back. Fang Tong stared at Lu Qing and smiled contemptuously. You're very proud, aren't you? It only took you half a year to grow from a novice with no rank to a fighter of professional ninth pin. You do have the right to be proud. But I like to fight with so-called geniuses like you the most. I like to see you flustered under my attacks. I like to see your futile struggle. I like to see your eyes doubting life after a crushing defeat. I like to see your cowering face in front of me. Do you know there was once an 18-year-old ninth pin genius fighter who was beaten by me until he cried. He cried. Hey, if you want to cry later, just cry. Don't hold it back. Go back and find your mom to comfort you. Lu Qing listened quietly. A line of introduction on the information flashed in his mind. Fang Tong, good at trash talking, good at provocation. He closed his eyes and confirmed his fighting style one last time. Once he stepped into the arena, he would go all out and fight like a life-and-death battle. He would not consider holding back any trump cards. But he did not have enough life-and-death experience. He could only use this as a reference. With this thought, Lu Qing recalled the details of his fight with the Dark Sect ninth pin. A whip kick to the temple, squeezing out 2 bloody eyeballs. A rocket-like cannon, bursting his genitals, blood and urine all over the ground. A secret technique of spirit and aura, directly attacking the mind, shaking the soul. Compared to the fear caused by the Dark Sect ninth pin, Fang Tong's trash talk was like a child scolding. Gradually, Lu Qing ignored Fang Tong's trash talk. He only felt that there seemed to be a croaking sound coming from a distant place. It could not affect his memory at all. Using the secret technique of spirit and aura to create rigidity. Fear caused by the poisonous needle force. Forced to open his stance. Prepared, biting the tip of the tongue. Mercurial balance, dodging in time. Deafening sound skill, killing move again. 1-inch punch, supernatural ability of flame, taking advantage of opportunity. Scenes flashed in his mind. Finally, it stopped at the scene of the Dark Sect ninth pin bleeding from the 7 orifices. The light in his eyes faded quickly, leaving behind a trace of unwillingness. The scene froze. Lu Qing opened his eyes and looked at Fang Tong with eyes as cold as ice. What's the use of training for a kid like you who hasn't been weaned yet? Really? Fang Tong was talking enthusiastically when he was suddenly stunned by such a weak look. He did not know why, but there was a slight chill in the bottom of his heart. For a moment he was speechless. Begin. At this moment, the referee waved his right hand. Fang Tong took a deep breath. His calf and thigh muscles swelled, making the corners of his martial arts pants stand out. The clothes on his upper body twitched, revealing his muscles one after another. Invading like fire, erupting like fire. Bam. He quickly approached and took a step forward punch. He poured all his strength into his right arm. The wind stirred, his bulging muscles pulled the skin and punched at Lu Qing fiercely. If an ordinary person was hit by such a punch, even if they did not die, they would be seriously injured. Lu Qing lowered his waist and sat down. Lightning flashed in his mind and the snow mountain collapsed. The rolling force surged to the soles of his feet, mighty and unstoppable. He put his right foot horizontally and exerted force on the ground in a half-twisting posture. Suddenly he felt a rebound attack. A slightly spiral force flowed from his foot to his leg, from his leg to his waist, and from his waist to his spine. With this as the axis, all the force in the flow was directed to his right arm. His right arm seemed to swell and his skin seemed to be pulled open. Lu Qing clenched his fist and hammered down to block Fang Tong's attacking hand. When the two were about to touch, his joints changed and his muscles and bones stretched, sending out a short but vigorous 1-inch punch. Bam! A layer of flame rose and covered Lu Qing's hand. Then it collided with Fang Tong's fist. The supernatural ability of fire versus burning force. Bang! With a muffled sound, Lu Qing felt like his right hand was burning. But he had expected it. He took advantage of the momentum and swung his right arm back, bringing a reverse momentum. Fang Tong's expression changed slightly. He instinctively swung his right arm to get rid of the burning sensation. His chest and abdomen were immediately opened. At the tatami of the home team, Wang Hui, Jiang Guoxing, and Pan Qingyun changed their expressions immediately. Lu Qing was not going to show mercy. He twisted his waist and tightened his thighs. With the help of the stomping force of his right foot and the backward momentum of his right arm, his left leg suddenly tightened like a soft whip. He ferociously and violently kicked between Fang Tong's legs. But he was still in a charging posture. Fang Tong's eyes showed panic. In his mind he visualized the scene of a burning body. His buttocks were involuntarily clenched and his muscles exerted force on his tailbone. Then he bounced his back and hooked his legs to pounce to the side. Burning body going up the roof. With just a pounce, Fang Tong pulled a few meters away from Lu Qing and avoided the deadly whip kick. But Lu Qing was not in a hurry. After the whip kick missed, he immediately lowered his leg and adjusted his muscles. He stepped heavily on the bluestone ground and directed the mega avalanche and lightning and fire stance in his mind to the soles of his feet. Bam! As if the ground was hit, Lu Qing bounced up and pounced on Fang Tong's side. His speed was not slow at all. The bluestone where he originally stood had a shallow mark on it. One in front and one behind, they were like two eagles chasing each other. Fang Tong regained his footing and used the force to bounce back. Lu Qing had already arrived. He turned his body sideways, lowered his shoulders, bulged his muscles and rammed forward with all his strength. It was as if an avalanche was about to happen. Fang Tong had no strength to dodge and could only hurriedly raise his arms in front of his body to block. Bam! Fang Tong's arms were in pain and pressed to his chest. Fang Tong flew out of the ring and fell in front of the tatami mats, almost knocking over several spectators. Lu Qing threw Fang Tong into the air. The referee nodded slightly and appreciated Lu Qing's mercy at the end. Otherwise he would have to stop it to avoid causing casualties. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Lu Qing wins." Lu Qing won in a few breaths. The whole martial arts club and the home team were silent. Yan Shaoling was looking at the screen with annoyance because the signal was interrupted. After more than 10 seconds the signal was restored. She saw the collision between the two and heard the commentator's voice, "Welcome to the next round. The match has just started and there is no delay." As I introduced during the conversation, Fang Tong in the red martial arts suit is one of the top young masters in Songqing. He has reached professional 9th pin more than 3 years ago. He lost. I just started the commentary. P.S. Please recommend me. Chapter 118. Yan Shaoling was as confused as the commentator. Not long after the signal was restored, she saw Fang Tong running away in a hurry and Lu Qing running after him. Before she could figure out what had happened, she had to face the final result. The result was certainly gratifying, but the confusing and short process made her somewhat unable to believe that it was real. She deeply suspected that after the signal was cut off, someone had faked the live broadcast and hired two actors who looked somewhat similar to each other to fake the fight, just like an old gambling movie she had watched before. The commentator was silent for a moment and finally recovered. "Hello everyone, I'm Wang Peng. Welcome to the first live broadcast of this year's preliminaries of Songqing Division. The first match just ended. Fang Tong from Hongluo Martial Arts School versus Lu Qing from Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Both sides fought fiercely, and the winner was decided within a few moves. This made me very confused and I believe that everyone is the same. Now let's review the fight just now and figure out what happened." The scene changed and the replay started. Yan Shaoling opened her mouth slightly and stared at the screen like a child. In less than 10 seconds she suddenly exclaimed, "Fire!" While the exclamation was still echoing, she, who had been influenced by the internet for a long time, had already understood. She let out a burst of forthright laughter and said to herself in surprise and delight, "Lu Qing has supernatural power. He has never used it before. He hit it so well. I like it." She picked up her phone and sent a voice message to Brahmin, Brahmin, did you see it? Lu Qing is so handsome, so handsome. Brahmin also replied with an excited voice message. I saw it, I saw it. So handsome. I never thought he had supernatural power. He is indeed a hidden and mysterious master. Get out of the way, I'm going to be infatuated. After a burst of crisp laughter, she said dreamily, Lu Qing has the power of flame and his martial arts are so good. He has so much potential. In the future he might really become a famous martial artist. When that time comes, when I ask for his autograph, I can proudly say that I was his earliest fangirl. I'll watch you become stronger little by little. Yan Shaoling covered her chest and said, My heart is bleeding. You stole the title of the first fan. Brahmin laughed and said, How is that stealing? Obviously it is. Also, the way you addressed me just now was too rude. Call me father. The two girls laughed and joked for a while. Brahmin was excited. While waiting for the second battle, she opened the forum of Longhu Club to see what her friends had to say. From the moment the results came out, no one replied for a full minute. Immediately after that, a large number of posts appeared in the next 10 to 20 seconds. Unparalleled Dragon King said with a Nike mouth emoji, I finally understand why he burst out in the end when he was fighting Yi Yaoding. He has awakened the power of Blaze. Road to the Arena added. I didn't lose unjustly. Not to mention the Flame Arcana at the beginning, just looking at how he grasped the opportunity and how calm he was, and looking at the last 2 or 3 exchanges, I have a feeling that if I were to fight with him again without a referee I would die. Invincible Punch Jin Tao also replied with a complicated tone, Every time I watch his match I feel that the gap between us is widening. Before I still had the motivation to catch up, but now I can only be myself. Beautiful world, comforted Jin Tao. Don't be sad, little fist. As long as you can reach professional 9th pin this year and get better martial arts from Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy, you will still be an outstanding young fighter. Don't compare yourself with this kind of cheating guy. Some people are really blessed by God. Although she still didn't like Lu Qing, she had to admit that Lu Qing's speed of improvement was so amazing that she didn't even have the courage to slander him. Outspoken said, Didn't he win this match with his supernatural ability? Why are you boasting so much? Let's see how he can win when Hongluo Martial Arts School is prepared. Fancy Leg Shaking King said smilingly, a young martial artist with great potential who also has the power of fire. He's a perfect match for our Longhu Club, okay? The unique skills of the fire sect of Taoism and the power of Blaze are perfect. Who knows, maybe Lu Qing will join our club in the future. Brahmin looked at the replies that were either sincerely convinced or still jealous. She was in a very good mood and didn't respond to them. She only liked the comment about the king of fancy leg shaking and sent a plus 10,086, imagining the scene of her new idol joining her favorite martial arts force. How wonderful that would be. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, more than 100 spectators were unusually depressed and couldn't speak for a while. It was like someone suddenly slapped them from behind while they were having a good time peeing, so they had to force it back. To be honest, they were mentally prepared for the possibility of Fang Tong losing the match. Since Fang Tong was chosen by Songqing TV station for the live broadcast, at least the gap between the strength of the two sides would not be too big. Moreover, Lu Qing's meteoric rise had long been known through information and word of mouth. They felt that it was not particularly strange for such a genius fighter who had defeated a professional 9th pin master to win against Fang Tong. At most, they would feel depressed for a while. But what they didn't expect was that Lu Qing would win so quickly and violently. During this process, they had just organized themselves to cheer for Fang Tong for the first time when they were interrupted by Lu Qing's sudden use of the power of Blaze. They stopped abruptly, nervously and worriedly paying attention to the subsequent developments. When Fang Tong dodged with the burning body, they regained their expectations and tried to cheer for Fang Tong again. However, Lu Qing closed the distance without missing a beat and ended the battle cleanly. How could they not feel depressed when they were interrupted twice in a row and the professional expert they had high hopes for was defeated again? How could they say anything? Yan Zhika sat elegantly like an ancient lady. But at this time she unconsciously held her pink cheek with her left hand and slightly tilted her head, looking at Lu Qing who was standing on the stage. She wasn't surprised at the result of the quick victory. Not only because she had known about the existence of the power of Blaze, but also because after Lu Qing's mental injury had completely recovered, she had curiously asked him about the details of the battle between him and the 9th pin of the Dark Sect. She had a deep impression of that thrilling battle. This time, Lu Qing had learned his lesson and went all out from the beginning without holding back. His opponent didn't expect this, so the result was obvious. But after the opportunity created by the power of Blaze, she was delighted by Lu Cheng's performance of handling a difficult situation with ease and calmness. Having an opportunity didn't mean that he would definitely win. His opponent also didn't lack trump cards. Just like the ninth pin of the Dark Sect, he had created an absolute advantage with his secret skill of spiritual momentum and poisonous needle force. But he couldn't grasp the situation and died on the spot. But just now, after the successful strike, Lu Cheng had completely extinguished Fang Tong's hope with a calmness and ruthlessness that were beyond his age. With a precise grasp of the changes in the battle situation and a posture that made his opponent despair, he had made all his struggles disappear. While Yanjika's imagination was running wild, she suddenly saw Lu Cheng turn around and look at her from afar. His eyes were smiling and his mouth was opening and closing, mouthing the words. Although she didn't understand lip language, she suddenly had a feeling of telepathy and understood what Lu Cheng was saying. He said, "Thank you, Coach Yan." "Still that silly Cheng?" Yanjika couldn't help but smile. Her teeth were slightly opened and her cheeks were pink. On the arena, Lu Cheng was dazzled. He didn't expect that the delicate and quick-witted Yanjika, who wasn't even 19 years old, could smile so charmingly just now. There was no need to look back. The interaction between the two was almost unnoticed by the shocked audience, except for one exception. Gizershir's mouth twitched and he said, "Coach Yen? Don't you know that this old man can read lips? You little bastard, you value your girl over your teacher. If I hadn't been like this in the past, I would have thrown you out now." While he was cursing in his heart, Li Mao and Sun Jian beside him looked at each other with a complicated smile. He even has the supernatural ability of flame. This kind of junior brother is really despairing. The two opened their mouths at the same time, but they said different things, which made Qin Zhanghua, who was sitting behind them, smile bitterly and say to himself, "Junior brothers nowadays are more terrible than the previous one. The new generation overtakes the old, and the old should die on the beach." Lin Ke was still expressionless, but his eyes flashed slightly. Guqing, who was on his right, said, "This Qing is really good at hiding. When did he get the supernatural ability?" After exclaiming a few words, Guqing turned to Yanjika beside her and joked, "Ku, are you moved? Qing was so cool and mighty just now." Before she could finish her words, she saw Yanjika blushing and looking at the ring with her bright and gentle eyes. Startled, she lowered her voice and said in Mandarin, "Don't tell me you've really fallen for him? I was just kidding. Boys like Qing can't accept it easily. He's too good at hiding and lying. He suddenly became so powerful, and suddenly he has the supernatural ability of flame." "I know this." Yanjika interrupted her in a low voice. "Know what? That he's a liar? Or that he has the supernatural ability of flame?" Guqing asked in astonishment. Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled. "He doesn't hide anything from me." Guqing was stunned and looked Yanjika up and down. She suddenly realized, You're not dating, are you?" Yanjika lowered her head and blushed from her cheeks to her ears. "Yes." Behind the spectator seats of the away team, Xu Rui was shocked and excited. She couldn't wait to jump on the stage and give Lu Cheng another interview. No wonder he's the fighter I chose. He's really a hot topic. Sooner or later I'll rely on him to make big news. Although Kai Zoming knew Lu Cheng had the supernatural ability of flame, he didn't expect him to win Fang Tong so quickly and so easily. He was a little stunned and murmured, "Spring is coming and everything is coming back to life. It's mating season for animals on the prairie. Lu Cheng is especially aggressive in his mating season. Don't get close to him." Wu Qian and the other girls chuckled and looked at Lu Cheng with curiosity and admiration. "So handsome. He's really a master. Hee, do you like him? How about asking Wu Qian to get you a contact number?" While whispering, Wu Qian pulled Zhang Jingye with a smile. "Does your classmate have a girlfriend?" Zhang Jingye thought for a while and said, "Probably not, but he has a target." During the get-together, the boys all saw that Lu Cheng was interested in Yanjika. Wu Qian and others gossiped. Zhang Jingye pointed at Yanjika. "That girl?" The girls stared at him and were suddenly speechless. After a long time they said, "What a beautiful girl." Zhao Chong and Qiu Zhigao didn't join their discussion. They looked at each other and were surprised by Lu Cheng's charm in the arena. Although Lu Cheng had undergone a lot of changes in the past semester, as a roommate who saw him every day, he was relatively slow to notice. It wasn't until now that he realized that his inconspicuous and ordinary roommate actually had the demeanor of a master. Looking at Fang Tong, who came back dejectedly and unwillingly, Wang Hui swallowed his comforting words and said with a straight face, "Do you think that the other party relied on the element of surprise to defeat you so easily?" "No." Fang Tong answered sullenly, but the expression on his face was contrary to his words. Wang Hui snorted and said, "What he showed later was not simple. He should have had the experience of a life-and-death battle." "A life-and-death battle?" Jiang Guoxing and Pan Qingyun asked at the same time. Fang Tong also raised his head. "Yes, once they fight they will not hold back. They will be fierce and the winner will be decided in a few moves." Wang Hui closed his eyes and said, "If he is still alive after a life-and-death battle, it can only mean one thing. His opponent is dead, killed by him." Jiang Guoxing was startled when he heard this. It wasn't that he had never fought on the streets before, but he had always helped his friends bully martial artists who were weaker than him. Even though he had seen blood, it was useless. Facing a martial artist who had survived a life-and-death struggle, his courage immediately weakened. What kind of life-and-death battle was it? He didn't have other troubles? Or was he seriously injured? Or was there another master who stopped him in time? Seeing Fang Tong withdraw his unwillingness and anger, Wang Hui laughed and said, "But you don't have to be afraid. According to my observation, his supernatural ability of flame is very weak, and his strength is much lower than Guoxing's. Guoxing, once you are prepared, you will have no problem defeating him. And I don't have to worry about one thing anymore. His last burst of strength when he fought with Yi Yaoting was not a unique skill, but a talent awakening. It will be hard to have a second chance." Jiang Guoxing gradually calmed down and regained his confidence. Pan Qingyun and Fang Tong nodded slightly and walked out of their emotions. At this time, the referee waved to the people of Hongluo Martial Arts School and asked them to send the second fighter to the ring as soon as possible. Although the interval between each match was deliberately longer during the live broadcast to give the TV station or video website a chance to comment, introduce and interact, the interval would not be too long, so that the fighters who won the previous match could have more rest than they should have. For Lu Qing it didn't matter. Wang Hui nodded and said to Jiang Guoxing, "Go, take him down." Jiang Guoxing narrowed his eyes and walked steadily to the ring. Chapter 119. Jiang Guoxing's physique was robust, and his back was straight as he slowly walked over. Not only did he show his steadiness, but he also displayed the manly spirit of a martial artist. He controlled his speed and every step he took was rhythmic. It was like he was beating a drum again and again, exploding with each step, pushing his aura to its peak. Fire-like invasion, momentum first. In the face of Jiang Guoxing's constant pressure, the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was at ease. They were not worried or nervous at all. For them, Lu Cheng's quick victory over Jiang Guoxing had already fulfilled his responsibility as the vanguard. Next, they just needed to exhaust Jiang Guoxing's strength a few more times to make him lose in the following matches. Then, they would be able to clinch victory. As for whether Lu Cheng could exhaust Jiang Guoxing a few more outbursts, it was needless to ask. From the strength he showed just now, from the fact that he didn't exhaust much, and from the fact that he had reached the level of professional ninth pin in half a year, they could get a definite answer. Among them, only Yan Zhika, who was used to seeing Lu Cheng create miracles again and again, was vaguely expecting something. Only Wu Qian, Zhao Chang and other students who didn't know much about Lu Cheng's strength were still cheering and longing for a second victory. With Jiang Guoxing's appearance, the peripheral students and non-core disciples of Hongluo Martial Arts School unconsciously dispersed their depression and calmed down. They were quite confident that senior brother Jiang could defeat his opponent. What was there to be afraid of after only one loss? Over the past few years, as Wang Hui grew older, the time for him to personally teach his disciples and students had become less and less. Most of the time, it was Jiang Guoxing who acted as his teacher to teach his disciples, guide their practice and demonstrate their fighting styles. He had become the de facto leader of the Hongluo Martial Arts School, and held a very high position in everyone's hearts. The only thing they needed to worry and pray was how many outbursts he could use to defeat Lu Cheng. If they fought until 7 or 8 outbursts, it would be equal to a lose-lose situation. Then how could they fight against the opponent's main fighter Lin Ke? Even if there were only 5 or 6 outbursts, the consumption would be great and the follow-up would be very unsettling. I hope senior brother Jiang can defeat Lu Cheng within 5 outbursts and show the power of our martial arts school and let the audience know Hongluo again. Lu Cheng smiled and turned the warmth and sweetness with Yan Zhika into his desire to win. He felt that he was full of thirst for the word win. Martial artists should challenge their limits. Even in the face of a strong enemy, they couldn't easily admit defeat. He closed his eyes, condensed water into ice, suppressed his desire, and waited for an explosion. He did not look at Jiang Guoxing's accumulated momentum. In the end, he recalled the predetermined fighting style. Once Jiang Guoxing got close to him, he would immediately counterattack and disrupt his explosive rhythm. Then he would use 24 blizzard strikes to suppress Jiang Guoxing with 24 blizzard strikes. The strategy was very simple, but in the ever-changing arena, the simpler the strategy, the more effective it was. At this time, Jiang Guoxing stood on the other side of the referee. His aura was extremely strong, like a flame that was about to set the prairie ablaze. His eyes were sharp as he stared at his opponent, who still had a little bit of a student's aura left in him. As if he could sense it, Lu Qing slowly opened his eyes the moment he looked over. His eyes were as deep as a pool and as calm as ice, as if they could extinguish all flames. Their gazes collided. One had been a rank 9 for many years and had rich experience in the arena. The other was a rising star who had fought life and death battles before. There was no flicker or flinching in their gazes. They fought to a draw. The referee did not wait any longer. He raised his right hand and swung it down heavily. Second round, begin. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Guoxing's temples bulged. The muscles of his thighs and calves suddenly swelled and pushed up his trousers. He drove his body and pounced on Lu Qing like a spreading fire. Lu Qing maintained his mercurial state. He bounced his back and swung his center of gravity. He suddenly dodged to the side. Like a ghost, he was a few meters away in a flash. Jiang Guoxing wasn't surprised. He was prepared for this. His spine suddenly wriggled like an earth dragon, and he changed the direction of his body. He was faster and fiercer than Lu Qing. He chased after Lu Qing like a wolf and was about to catch up. He wasn't afraid of Lu Qing's strange change of direction. This was a professional ninth pin fighter who could release and withdraw at will. Like Lin Ke, he was only one step away from the dance stage. But Lu Qing seemed to be waiting for such a scene. He suddenly lowered his center of gravity. In his mind, lightning fell from the sky and snow collapsed. The rolling hot flow rushed to his thighs and soles. With a stomp of his feet, the violent force bounced back. Taking advantage of the momentum, he turned around and pulled back his two hands. Like a cannon, he launched an attack at the rapidly approaching Jiang Guoxing. The ferocity of the counterattack, the speed of the attack, and the viciousness of the power, not only did it tear apart the sound of the wind and bring about a buzzing sound, it also caused the hundreds of spectators in the home arena to let out worried cries. Jiang Guoxing did not panic. He tightened his hips and clamped his tailbone, igniting the fire in exchange for an explosive response. He didn't dodge. Instead, he used this opportunity to push the strength he had just accumulated. His muscles bulged and he seemed to have expanded a little. He bounced his back and directed all the flames to his right hand. Then he blocked Lu Qing's attack with a hammer strike. One hammer for two punches. Bam! The two collided for the first time. The dull and blood-boiling sound echoed in the surroundings. Lu Qing used his hearing skill to withdraw his fists. He quickly adjusted his muscles and changed his center of gravity. He tightened his thighs and used the force to attack again. Bam! Lu Qing's leg whip was more ferocious than the previous two punches. He used the shortest way and the fastest speed to disrupt Jiang Guoxing's explosive rhythm. 24 blizzard strikes, endless wind and endless blizzard. Jiang Guoxing was going to adjust his body and combine the feedback and counter-pressure from earlier with the corresponding visualization to push for the second explosion. However, the image of the spreading flames appeared in his mind, and before his muscles could expand, Lu Qing's whip kick was already coming at him. He had no choice but to hastily transfer half of the strength of the explosion to his right leg. He tightened his toes and kicked at his opponent. Bam! When the two collided, Lu Qing took the opportunity to withdraw his leg. He used the force to lean back slightly like a slingshot and was about to launch a heart-drilling blast punch. At this moment he saw Jiang Guoxing take a deep breath. Instead of attacking, he withdrew his right hand to his chest. His spirit, momentum, and blood seemed to have disappeared. No, it was restrained. An electric light flashed in Lu Qing's mind. The video of Hongluo Martial Arts School and Yan Zhika's words appeared in his mind. This was another killing move of Hongluo Martial Arts School. It was extremely fierce and terrifying after compressing the whole body's strength to a certain extent. Without the feeling of withdraw in Dan's stage, it was difficult to exert its power. However, once it was used, it was definitely not something a normal professional ninth pin fighter could resist. When the pressure reached the extreme, the rebound would also reach the extreme. Star burst, prairie fire. Lu Qing made a decision in an instant. He took a deep breath, adjusted his muscles, changed his center of gravity, and put his arms in a horizontal stance. When Lu Qing finished his stance, Jiang Guoxing suddenly expanded. He seemed to have grown taller and his momentum became extremely fierce. His temples were obviously bulging. He pushed his feet inwards and pulled out his right hand, which was in front of his chest. It was as fast as thunder, tearing the air. Bam! When the pull hit Lu Qing's arms, he felt an unstoppable majestic force. He felt a burning pain and a piercing pain at the places of contact. It seemed that his stance was about to be broken. Fortunately, he was prepared. He didn't expect to take it head-on. He tightened his waist and back, twisted his body, and exerted force on his feet. With the help of this majestic force, he actually broke his stance and jumped back. He flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Normally, when beaten like this, he would be in a precarious situation. However, Lu Qing took the initiative and kept his center of gravity. There was a move in Tai Chi, which was to take a step back after blocking the opponent's attack to neutralize the force. Lu Qing was using the extreme application of Tai Chi without strong control of the body and absolute confidence in the adjustment of the center of gravity. It would be suicidal. While flying backward, Lu Qing turned around with his back facing Jiang Guoxing. Under the pressure of the majestic force, he continued to move forward. He didn't mess up his footwork like an agile eagle. Jiang Guoxing didn't show any mercy. He exerted force on his feet and quickly approached, trying to copy the scene of Lu Qing winning the last blow at the same time. At this moment, Lu Qing, who had spent most of the force, borrowed the remaining force and used the adjustment of his muscles to direct it to his legs. Dong! His heavy footsteps seemed to shake the ground slightly. Taking advantage of the momentum, he twisted his waist and took a step forward. His muscles bulged and his skin tightened. With both his feet, he struck out with a mountain blast punch. Once again, he fiercely counterattacked. Jiang Guoxing stopped as soon as he said so, like a heavy truck that had braked suddenly. However, he immediately rushed up again, pouring the accumulated strength into his legs. He stomped his feet, and with the help of the violent rebound, he pulled his right shoulder and lashed out with his whip. Even if it was a stone millstone in front of him, he would still crack it. Bam! The blast punch blocked the whip and made a dull sound. Both of them were stagnant at the same time. This caused the surrounding cheers to temporarily disappear. The audience watching the live broadcast and the live broadcast were immediately stunned, and their heartstrings tightened. Pah, pah, pah. The martial arts shoes on their feet cracked one after another. The footprints and cracks on the floor were exposed. After a moment of absolute silence, the audience burst into loud applause. No matter which side the supporters were from, they were all excited by the collision of pure physical strength. Xu Rui clenched her fists and her eyes flashed. She secretly breathed a sigh of relief. With such a battle, there would be no problem with the live broadcast. She, who made the suggestion, wouldn't be the scapegoat. Chapter 120. Pan Qingyun had straightened his back and stared at the ring. His expression was unprecedentedly serious, and his eyes were more focused than ever. It seemed that Lu Qing was probably more powerful than he had expected. It had been more than 20 days since the end of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Lu Qing had reached the level of professional 9th pin in only 4 months. He had enough time to make another breakthrough. Since he could reach the level of professional 9th pin from amateur 1st pin in 3 months, why couldn't such a genius do more in 1 month? Moreover, he seemed to have experienced a lot of life and death battles. His momentum was not inferior to that of his fellow apprentices who made a living in this aspect. At this moment, Lu Qing still had shortcomings in strength and speed, but the gap between him and the professional 9th pin had been greatly shortened. Plus, his control of his body, understanding of the technique of exerting force, and the proportion of power transferred between his punches and kicks and the degree of explosion were higher. These were enough to fill up the small gap. In other words, Lu Qing had reached the standard of a professional 9th pin in all aspects except for his physical fitness. He had even surpassed this level in the fields of coordination, listening skill and meditation. All in all, although he was not invincible among the professional 9th pin fighters, he was strong enough to fight with any of the professional 9th pin fighters. And this was excluding the fact that his power of blaze was not strong enough at present. Unconsciously, Pan Qingyun regarded Lu Qing as a young fighter who was more talented than himself. And he took it for granted. His attitude changed 180 degrees from the contempt at the beginning to a little bit too much. He has no rank yet. It is very likely that he will participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin at the end of April. At that time, if there are only 1 or 2 applicants, it will be a narrow road. No matter how calm Pan Qingyun was, he still felt a headache. He was only officially recognized as an amateur first pin, and also had to participate in the ranking event at the end of April. Yan Zhika saw that Lu Cheng's shoes were cracked, but his figure was still standing in the ring as if he was invincible. She felt funny and distressed at the same time. She also felt that this figure seemed to be able to withstand all the wind and rain and bear all the responsibilities. I haven't given him a gift yet. She suddenly thought of this, feeling shy and sweet at the same time. In the arena, Lu Cheng, whose martial arts shoes were finally broken, felt unbearable soreness in his arms, as if he had been hit thousands of times. If he hadn't jumped back and neutralized his force when Jiang Guoxing used his killer move, Star Burst, his stance would have been broken and he would have lost on the spot. His arms and hands might not be able to support themselves anymore. In the following collision, his bones would either be broken or fractured. He had no way to defeat Jiang Guoxing in terms of strength. However, in a competition, pure strength was only the main factor that influenced the outcome. It wasn't the only factor. In this situation, the brave one won't win. He forced himself to take a deep breath and did not make any adjustments. Using the desperation of a life and death battle, he took a step forward. He exerted strength in his feet and tightened his thighs. With a snap, he pulled out his right leg that was dragging behind him and kicked straight between Jiang Guoxing's legs. Geezer Shi, who was sitting in a daze, slightly adjusted his posture when he saw this. He laughed in a low voice and said, "You're quite sharp." Wang Hui from Hongluo Martial Arts School frowned and muttered to himself, "If it's Fang Tong." While Jiang Guoxing was taking a breather and preparing for the 4th explosion, he saw Lu Qing take a step forward and pull back his leg. Instead of retreating, Lu Qing rushed forward, showing an aura of either Jiang Guoxing's death or Lu Cheng's. Jiang Guoxing panicked and channeled the strength he had just accumulated into his right leg. He straightened it and waved it like a soft whip, whistling towards Lu Cheng. Bang! Without shoes, the 2 legs collided in midair and then retracted. Lu Cheng quickly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and bounced his back. He immediately shifted his position and flashed to Jiang Guoxing's side. Lowering his waist, he raised his right hand and ferociously chopped downwards towards his opponent's temple. His master said that if he wanted to disrupt the opponent's explosive rhythm, he should not be foolishly facing it head-on. Instead, he should use his own characteristics to mobilize the opponent and force him into an unsuitable posture and position to fight him head-on. Because he hadn't recovered yet, he couldn't mobilize enough strength, so he could only attack the opponent's vital points. Every move was a steal, every move was dangerous. You've got some understanding? Geezer Shi nodded with satisfaction. Jiang Guoxing took a deep breath, straightened his shoulders and raised his left arm, blocking the punch right beside his head. As soon as the two came into contact, his muscles suddenly expanded. Using his back as a whip and his left arm as a guide, he made a ferocious swing, making Lu Qing feel like he was pushed hard. He lost his center of gravity and was about to stumble to the side. The 5th explosion of fire-like invasion. The moment he lost his center of gravity, Lu Qing clearly knew that even if he quickly recovered his footwork, what awaited him was Jiang Guoxing's 6th explosion. The rhythm of the battle fell into his hands and there was no chance for him to win. At the critical moment, as he stumbled away, he snapped his fingers with his right hand that was next to his opponent's temple. A flame came out and burned a few strands of Jiang Guoxing's hair. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing took 3 steps back and quickly adjusted his body to regain his center of gravity. Jiang Guoxing felt a burning pain in his head. He was afraid that his hair would burn his head, so he hurriedly swatted it back and didn't chase after him immediately. Seeing this, Lu Qing had an idea. He took a deep breath and rushed forward crazily to Jiang Guoxing, who had just caught up with him. In a flash, he closed the distance between them. He stepped forward with his right foot, shook his shoulder, and threw a blast punch at Jiang Guoxing's lower abdomen. Jiang Guoxing didn't expect his opponent to be so tough. He had to use the 6th explosion in advance. His 2 hands quickly reached down and accurately pressed Lu Cheng's blast punch like an osprey landing. Seeing this, Wang Hui, the master of Hongluo Martial Arts School, couldn't help but sigh. He thought that it was a good thing that his disciple had become more prudent as he grew older and had a chance to break through to the Dan stage. But now it seemed that there were pros and cons. If he didn't force him into a corner, he wouldn't dare to take risks and risk his life. If it were Fang Tong, he wouldn't have taken a breather. He wouldn't have cared whether his hair was lit or not. When you create an opportunity, You have to seize it regardless of your own safety. This is the true essence of fire-like invasion. Compared to Lu Cheng, the difference between Jiang Guoxing and Lu Cheng was not only that Jiang Guoxing did not have the experience of a life-and-death battle, which could be made up for by his rich experience in arena battles, but also that he was no longer as hot-blooded and courageous as he was when he was young. Originally, a person without hot-blooded and courageous courage would have their own routines and advantages, but the fighting style of Hongluo martial arts school was called fire-like invasion, and the contradiction between the two was his biggest problem. Today it would depend on whether or not his strength could solve this problem. Bang! Lu Cheng's blast punch was just stopped by Jiang Guoxing. He shook his right arm and flicked his wrist, slipping out from between Jiang Guoxing's hands. He drew a small arc and grabbed the enemy's wrist. Big and small hand wrap. Jiang Guoxing wasn't someone to be trifled with. He gathered his strength and swatted with his palm as if he was swatting a mosquito. At this moment, Lu Cheng, who had been forcefully raising his qi, finally reached a certain limit. He urgently needed to exhale the turbid qi in his lungs. His right hand cleverly dodged the slap. Just as he was about to exhale the foul air, an idea suddenly flashed through his mind. He remembered a live broadcast he had watched before. At a critical moment, the Dragon King's body was restrained and he was about to be thrown to the ground. While he was face to face with his opponent, he suddenly spat out fire from his mouth and burned his opponent's face. The idea turned into an idea. Lu Cheng used the Jindan to sense the inside of his body and made some adjustments. Then he opened his mouth and with the momentum of the brutal blizzard in his mind exhaled and shouted, "Ha!" An arrow of turbid qi hit Jiang Guoxing's face. Although it wasn't really harmful, it made his eyes ache. He was so scared that he quickly closed them. Now is the time. Seizing the opportunity, Lu Cheng finally took out Jiang Guoxing's left wrist. Like holding a black snake, he swung it fiercely. Bam bam bam. Jiang Guoxing instinctively resisted with all his strength. However, a few of his joints were shaken open. His muscles were also damaged. His left arm was temporarily disabled. He let out a roar. Forced into a desperate situation, he finally didn't care anymore. His body seemed to expand. He leaned to the left and bumped into Lu Cheng with his shoulder. The seventh level of fire-like invasion. However, Lu Cheng had already entered the field he was best at, which was listening and sensing. He lowered his body, turned his back and pulled, and used his left arm as a fulcrum to throw Jiang Guo out of the ring. Jiang Guo flew over his head and out of the ring. The referee was slightly surprised, but he still raised his hand and announced the result. The second round, Lu Cheng wins. There were still 2 more levels of fire-like invasion, but Jiang Guoxing had already lost the match. Thump. Seeing senior brother Jiang, who usually taught disciples on behalf of his master, fall in front of them and struggle to stand up, the disciples and students of Hongluo martial arts school felt sad and desolate. No one spoke. Could it be that Lu Cheng had single-handedly challenged the martial arts school? The members of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club were also silent. They had not yet digested this unexpected surprise. Obviously, Jiang Guoxing seemed to be much more powerful and had the upper hand in the battle. How could he lose to Lu Cheng in the end? Moreover, he lost so miserably that the injury on his left arm could not be healed without a certain amount of time. Yan Zhika opened her pink lips slightly and then closed them again, revealing a playful and gentle dimple, just like the change when she heard the news in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Pan Qingyun couldn't suppress his anger and fighting spirit anymore. He suddenly stood up and was about to walk to the arena. At this time, Lu Cheng, who was happy and complacent, shook his arm and rubbed his fist. He felt that his bones were still a little painful. If he continued to fight, he was afraid that he would be injured. But his opponent was only of amateur first pin. Since he was in the limelight, he had to leave some leftovers for his brother-in-law, right? Therefore, when Pan Qingyun came to him, he turned around and left the arena with his bare feet. He didn't even look at his opponent. He left. Pan Qingyun was stunned on his way out. Just like that? I'm not of amateur first pin. I'm of professional 9th pin. P.S. Based on your request, I'm updating in advance. Please recommend me. In addition, I have some content from Midnight Newspaper on my Signal Wuxia 1985. You are welcome to read it. Chapter 121. The sun on Sunday shone through the windows of Hongluo Martial Arts School, leaving the room full of brilliance. Lu Cheng walked barefoot in the brilliance as if he was walking on a golden road. He was in a good mood, overflowing with happiness and relieving all the pressure. He looked at Yenjika walking back leisurely in front of the silent disciples and students of the martial arts club. This is the taste of victory. When he passed by Kai Zongming and the others, he nodded and greeted them contentedly, not at all embarrassed by the reality of being barefoot. What a master! A martial artist who hasn't reached physical invulnerability can be so powerful. He broke his shoes in one move. Didn't you see the cracks and footprints on the stone floor? If he punched the boys in our school, they would be smashed into meat pies. So manly. A few girls from the School of Arts whispered to each other, full of admiration. They had only seen the fights of physical invulnerability experts and didn't have a clear understanding of dance stage and body refining. Today was the first time they knew that a human could be so fierce with only physical strength. For the first time they looked at the martial arts club in a new light. Boys who practice martial arts are so energetic and elegant. They saw Lin Kei stand up and walk towards Lu Cheng. They looked around and came to the same conclusion. Hearing their undisguised discussion, Kai Zongming had an impulse to cry. If he hadn't been lazy last year and joined the special training of the martial arts club, he wouldn't have been able to defeat Cheng. He's a freak. Zhang Jingya was a little jealous. Wu Qian sensed it and whispered in his ear, "Just take it that we're talking about TV stars, idols, singers and famous martial artists. We're just gossiping. Not many people take it seriously." "You're right." Zhang Jingya was relieved. But in this way there would be a gap between Cheng and them. Qiu Zhigao sighed with emotion, "I'm so jealous of Cheng. I often dream of the scene just now, as a man who liked to show off his muscles even in his dormitory, and as a new student who had an amateur level when he entered the school. It would be a lie if he said that he had never dreamed of martial arts when he was young. However, as he grew older and lost his talent, he gradually recognized reality and rationally put his time and energy into studying. He stared at the arena in a daze. His hot blood boiled and his melancholy lasted for a long time. In the end, it turned into a sigh and disappeared into silence. "I hope Cheng can go further on the path of martial arts and let me know how beautiful this glorious path is." Zhao Chang pondered and suddenly blurted out, "Old Qiu, did you notice that Cheng won the game with a ha at the end? This must be the protection of some mysterious power. He sacrificed his own time." What? Qiu Zhigao was at a loss. "Forget it. You're not a real fan." Zhao Chang lowered his voice and sighed. "We've been trying to please him along the way, but we're not as impressed as Cheng's 2 matches. Qiu Zhigao chuckled and said, "That's normal, just like how you like beautiful, cute and playful girls." "I like to study." Zhao Chang pushed up his black-rimmed glasses seriously. "I'm going to start preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam now." "So early? You're only a freshman." Qiu Zhigao was surprised. Zhao Chang smiled slightly and put away all of his seriousness and indecency. He exhaled and said, "I've thought it over very clearly. Everyone has their own characteristics and their own future. The postgraduate entrance exam is the most suitable for me. I can't follow others to practice martial arts just because others practice martial arts, right? It's better to prepare early than to cram for it. I'll slowly improve my inner qualities and abilities. There must be someone who likes me." Qiu Zhigao was stunned by the 3 questions in a row. He gasped and said, "Chang, why do I feel that you've developed a deeper thought?" Zhao Chang didn't say anything. He pushed up his black-rimmed glasses again, reflecting the sunlight through the window. When they were about to reach the tatami of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Lu Cheng saw Li Mao taking the lead and applauding to welcome him back. Yenjika, on the other hand, was smiling. Her eyes were twinkling, looking playful and joyful. In the applause, he found Lin Kei standing up and walking towards him. He raised his right hand with a smile and made a high-five gesture. Lin Kei was stunned and didn't slow down. When he was about to pass by Lu Cheng's right side, he reached out his hand and gave Lu Cheng a high five. "Come on," Lu Cheng said with a smile. In his mind he added, "Brother-in-law?" Lin Kei nodded and looked over Lu Cheng's shoulder to the arena, looking at his opponent. They passed by each other. Lu Cheng returned to the tatami and sat on Lin Kei's seat. Only Guqing was between him and Yenjika. "Awesome. Cheng, you're good. You'll definitely win the ranking event in April." Li Mao, Sun Jian and Qin Zhanghua gave him a thumbs up to express their admiration. Lu Cheng was very happy and refreshed. He was about to respond when he felt a sudden pain in his arms and hands. He quickly unbuttoned his shirt and rolled up his sleeves. He found some bruises, some red and swollen. His bones were also very sore. "Are you okay? I brought some ointment in the locker room." Yenjika looked at him and asked with concern, "What? Hearing this, Li Mao, Lin Hua and the others immediately looked at Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika, sizing them up. Yan Zhika also realized that she was too active and became the center of attention. She blushed shyly and looked very beautiful. Lu Cheng's heart was beating fast. Applying ointment in the locker room? 2 people together? He kept the last trace of reservation and said, Lin K's match is coming soon. As his teammate, it's not good to not watch and cheer for him. Sun Jian couldn't stand his hypocrisy and said, Lin K's opponent is of amateur first pin. What's there to watch? Go and apply the ointment. Don't leave any hidden injuries that will affect next week's match. Okay. Lu Cheng was waiting for others to persuade him. He immediately stood up and looked at Yan Zhika. Yan Zhika had long regretted her suggestion. Feeling her face burning, she rolled her eyes at him. But after looking at his bruises and swollen face, she pursed her lips, turned her head, stood up and walked to the locker room with a blush, avoiding all eyes. But she still walked proudly to the locker room. Lu Cheng looked at her swaying back and followed her with a wandering mind. He heard the whispers of Li Mao and the others. Tisk tisk. Junior brothers nowadays are so great. Qin Zhanghua sighed with emotion. They were all college students who practiced martial arts. Why was he single for 4 years? Li Mao also sighed. I always thought that he had no hope to win her heart. Just like how he thought his martial arts future was. In the locker room there was no one around. Yan Zhika turned around and snorted with her hands behind her back. Tell me, why did you agree? You should ask me to take out the ointment and apply it outside yourself. Lu Cheng suddenly felt like he was flirting with her. He pretended to be pitiful and said, but it's not easy for me to apply it myself. It hurts on both hands. Really? Yan Zhika hurriedly checked it. As a girl from a martial arts family, she had a good eye. She was relieved and said, there are no wounds on the bones. Sit down, I'll get the ointment. She trotted to the locker, took out the ointment and sat next to Lu Cheng. She raised her right hand, which had a lot of bruises, squeezed out the ointment, and kneaded it in a special way. Lu Cheng's eyes followed her figure and followed her busy movements. At this moment, looking at the girl beside him, looking at her delicate skin, looking at her rosy cheeks, looking at her glossy lips, looking at her slightly distressed expression, and looking at her focused and gentle eyes, although the place where his right hand was being pinched was painful, he was willing to endure it. He even felt like he was intoxicated by it, even if it wasn't wine that made him drunk. At this moment he longed for eternity. After kneading the bruises on both hands, Yan Zhika rolled her eyes and pretended to be normal. She said, where's your locker? I'll bring your shoes here. It's not good for you to walk barefoot. That. Lu Cheng pointed, enjoying the girl's thoughtfulness and gentleness. You continue to knead them yourself. Yan Zhika wiped her hands with a tissue and turned to the locker. When she took out Lu Cheng's sneakers, she deliberately blocked his view with her back and quickly looked at the size. Then she lifted the corner of her mouth and went back with the shoes. What made you so happy? Lu Cheng asked curiously. Yan Zhika said with a smile, if you didn't bring this pair of shoes, you would have to go back barefoot. Who would use martial arts shoes as a daily item? Lu Cheng answered with a relaxed body and mind. His socks were gloriously broken just now, so he had to wear shoes barefoot for the time being. Ah! Lu Cheng is so cool. Yan Shaoling sent a voice message to Brahmin while staring at the replay on the screen. Brahmin laughed crisply. The scene of him turning around barefoot perfectly matched my expectations and fantasies of a mysterious master. According to the commentator, the professional 9th pin fighter who lost is very strong, close to the dance stage. Haha, he is now praising our Lu Cheng crazily, saying that he is not only a genius, but also good at actual combat and seizing opportunities. Yan Shaoling was satisfied and wanted to give the commentator a thumbs up. While the two girls were talking and laughing, Yan Shaoling opened the web page and logged into the forum, preparing to create a post about the preliminaries. When the page refreshed, she suddenly rubbed her eyes, wondering if she had seen the wrong number. Yesterday there were only 4 followers. How come there are 368 followers now? How many times had it increased? Brahmin, go to the forum. I think there's something wrong with my eyes. Yan Shaoling sent a message to Brahmin immediately. After a while, Brahmin replied weakly, my eyes seem to have something wrong with them too. In the same forum, Unparalleled Dragon King quietly posted a post. Lu Cheng's data collection. Name, Lu Cheng. Occupation, student. Age, 19. School, Songqing University. Martial arts rank, strong professional 9th pin. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, most of the disciples and trainees had lost all hope. Only a few core disciples who knew Pan Qingyun's real strength still had a glimmer of hope, hoping that he could turn the situation around as a secret weapon. As long as he defeated Lin Ke, the third fighter of Songqing University would not even reach amateur first pin. Pan Qingyun adjusted his breath and stood opposite Lin Quebec. Because it was the first time for both of them to fight, there was no problem of physical recovery, so even if there was no time to talk, the referee was not in a hurry to announce the start of the fight. Instead, he called the staff to clean up the arena, so as not to interfere with the following fight. After a while, he confirmed with the two fighters, then waved his right hand and said loudly, "Start." Pan Qingyun knew that his strength of professional ninth pin couldn't be hidden from Lin Ke for long, so he planned to go all out from the beginning to seize the opportunity when Lin Ke underestimated him. He visualized a spreading flame and ignited his whole body. He tightened his waist and back, pushed down and put strength in his legs and feet. He suddenly pounced on Lin Ke for several meters. Lin Ke didn't retreat. He strode forward and suddenly stopped. He put strength in his feet, his body slightly trembled, his temples bulged and his right arm pulled back. In a very short distance he completed the eruption and electric shooting, and hit Pan Qingyun like a meteor. Pan Qingyun also completed the first eruption, as if he was holding a giant hammer, and hit down fiercely. Bang! When the two collided, Pan Qingyun felt like he was hit by a bomb. His whole body was shaking, his bones were trembling, his blood and qi were rolling, his internal organs were uncomfortable, and his fascia and muscles were unable to exert strength for a while. Lin Ke approached him, pulled out his left arm and stopped at his neck. Round 3, Lin Ke wins. The referee suddenly felt like laughing. This was even faster than the first round. The gap between a professional ninth pin and an amateur first pin was indeed huge. Lin Ke didn't look at Pan Qingyun. His expressionless face revealed a thoughtful expression, and he whispered to himself, "Just like him, I have to go all out from the beginning?" While speaking, Lin Ke made an obeisance, turned around and walked out of the ring with neither joy nor sadness. There was nothing to be happy about defeating an opponent of amateur first pin. Pan Qingyun stared blankly and suddenly wanted to shout loudly to announce the truth to everyone. "I'm a professional ninth pin, not an amateur first pin. P.S. The book will be published in the early hours of the morning. Everyone get your subscriptions and monthly tickets ready. There will be a speech for the book release later." Chapter 122. It was time for another book to be published. There was already a new page at 7 p.m., and there would be a VIP chapter at around 12:10 p.m. Normally speaking, at this time I would talk about how hard I worked and how difficult it was to write this book. I would talk about my pitifulness and friendship in order to get more subscribers. But first I would like to talk about something else, something that might cause the number of subscribers to drop. That was, don't have unnecessary expectations. I've already said that this book is a book of small scale, a book of medium to low-level martial arts. There won't be any battles between heaven and earth, no intense conflicts and no grand schemes. Don't hold unnecessary expectations for these. The reason why I chose to publish the book for 2 months, 6,000 words a day and 400,000 words a day, was to attract more readers. Also, I wanted to write out the book's style, rhythm and main points so that the old readers would understand what kind of book it was, whether they would like it and whether it was worth subscribing after it was published. I had always felt bad for everyone's money. I never wanted you to subscribe and support this book unconditionally just because of the books before it, even if you didn't like it. That would make me feel guilty. What I wanted was for you to only subscribe if you liked it. If you didn't like the style of this book, you could always wait for the next book. The next book would definitely be a different style and rhythm. There would always be something you like. There were many details in this book that I had wanted to write about for a long time. After the Fate Destroyer incident, didn't I say that I had the idea of writing about a fantasy city? Fantasy was arcane and this was part of that city. Back then I wanted to write about the technical flow of industrial layout, but now I didn't have the passion, the idea or the knowledge to do so. However, I often thought about the daily details in the book, smiled at them and always wanted to write about them. Back then I chose to write about arcane magic for 2 reasons. First, the change in the city was too big. Second, I was more passionate and motivated about arcane magic. Third, I didn't think that my writing skills back then were enough to write the daily details I wanted. I was afraid that I would only write a bunch of flowing accounts. After the tempering of the 3 books, it wasn't until the end of this life that I finally had the confidence to write a good daily life without deliberately creating conflicts. I could write something that was interesting in the mundane. At least for now, I barely managed to write it, and it was also the first time that I had the feeling of writing an essay that was filled with laughter and anger. This is a slow-paced book. I want to write about a young man named Lu Cheng. What kind of people he will meet, what will happen, what kind of feelings he will experience, what kind of friends he will have, what kind of enemies he will face, and what kind of person he will grow up to. Martial arts is important, but other things are equally important. The dark main line of this book is Lu Cheng's life. Every one of us will experience the life we are tasting or reminiscing from time to time. There was nothing wrong with that. I like to read it too. Nowadays, society was fickle and everyone was busy. The time left for reading was limited. Who would have the time to slowly create, contrast, and outline the characters? But if you read too much of this kind of thing, you would get tired of it. When I first came in contact with online novels, I was surprised by the variety of styles. No matter how special my tastes were at any stage, I could find what I wanted to read. I still remembered when I was moved. I still remembered many characters with different characteristics. I still remembered reading books in front of the computer and almost crying because of the plot. Now, there were definitely similar books, but they were getting fewer and fewer. I'm not boasting about how rare it is. I just want to say that I really want to write a book like this. There are details, daily life, hot-bloodedness, passion, touching feelings, memories, innocence, purity, and all kinds of living people. The only problem is that the pace will be very slow and there will be fewer conflicts. This is King tragedy, but the results can be predicted. Also, I wanted to proudly say that I tried a new way of describing characters. I didn't want to say what kind of person Yenjika was. I didn't want to quickly create cute points and try to leave a deep impression in 1 or 2 chapters. Again, I violated the requirements of online novels. Instead, I started to outline little by little, using the chat and daily details to draw this girl. If you didn't like to read the dialogue, you might miss a little bit of her beauty. I hoped that by the time I finished the outline, she would be liked by everyone. Well, about what you're worried about, I can only say that life is hard enough. I have too many regrets in the past. The book will definitely not be like this. I want to have a happy ending. This is a book that completely violates the trend and rhythm of online novels. I was actually mentally prepared for the result of subscriptions. But since I wanted to write it, then I'll write it. When I don't have to bend my back for 5 buckets of rice, when I'm still brooding over my shortcomings, when I'm still impulsive and passionate. I want to give myself a motto, and hope that I can always stick to it until I quit the online novel circle. That is, never be satisfied, always challenge. Actually, it can be said that I'm always looking for trouble. Alright, I've said a lot of nonsense. In the end, I still want to ask for subscriptions. I've never been shy about saying that I love money. I want to use my novels to earn money. I want to earn it standing. Well, I hope that my friends who like it will subscribe. I don't want the result to be too bad. As for outbursts, to be honest, the details and fighting are really hard to write. I've been racking my brain all day looking for the feeling. Writing 9,000 is already close to my limit. I can only promise that on the first day, I'll update 4 chapters, 2 chapters in the morning, 3 chapters in the future, and at least 20 days in December. Finally, at the end, I'm asking for a monthly vote. I'm ambitious too. I still want to get a higher ranking so that more people will read this book. Also, welcome to my Weixin public account, Wuxia 1985. I'll release a character image in the future. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.